Good morning and welcome to the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi. I read over the weekend that most people start actively working towards their yearly goals after the first half of the year. So if you are most people, we've officially crossed over into the first half of the year, so it's a good time to start. But it's also a good day to get into the various issues that came up over the weekend. I mean, there was the TGMA last night, and so let's get into the conversations right here on the AM show. Starting, we'll serve you the news in a bit, and after that we'll get into the news review where we look at the issues and how it resonates with all of us. And then Muftan Abela Abdullahi will bring you sports on AM Sports. And then we get into the big conversations on the AM show. We'll start with the Teacher Licensure Examination, which was introduced about 5 years ago to help redefine the teaching profession and set it apart for better standards and professionalism. But this has also become an albatross on the neck of many teachers and threatening their very career with their calling for its total cancellation. We'll delve into the issues on our hotline documentary, Licensed to Death. Also, the turn of events in this Ato Forcing ambulance case does not only raise the issues of law, but some say matters of integrity and accountability in leadership. Public office holders are expected to live above board and exercise high levels of integrity. But is this the case? We'll bring you some more details and find out more and probe the issues further on this ongoing issue. Of course, you're invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts when we begin the show till 10 a.m. either via phone or across social media platforms. You're welcome to join us. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akako. Starting with, let's do the AM news now. This is the AM News. Welcome to the program. Starting with, government has released 60 million Ghana cedis to the Scholarship Secretariat for onward disbursements to 10 countries where students have been sent to undertake various courses under the government scholarship program. This follows distress calls from some students in Morocco who say their stipends have been in arrears for 10 months, leaving them devastated. We can listen to some of these students.
We are pleading with the government of Ghana to come to our aid. As ladies here in this country, we are not even able to afford like the basic needs, sanitary pads, and the worst of it always, like your parents will send you money and it gets here, it's nothing. You can't even.
Now, it has been more than 10 months. We are going to the 11th month without our stipends. We live in a country where rent is $120 per month. That's the cheapest you can get at a place without security. But we managed to live there because even the stipends we are having is not enough. Now, it has been almost 11 months without the stipends. The question is, how do we survive? Our landlords are chasing us from our apartment. Some of us are sleeping with our friends. Some of us are sleeping outside. Imagine sending your daughter to an Islamic country to come and study for 10 months without sending him money to pay his rent. How do you want us to survive? There are people having debts and they are chasing them. And people are depressed. The last time we had someone who nearly committed suicide. We are asking you, maybe you might say that we are making noise. This is not noise. This is not a story we are telling. This is not a narrative. This is what we are going through. Our lives are in danger.
But speaking on Joy News, on the sidelines of the 63rd Speech and Prize Giving Day of the Pope Jones Senior High School, Registrar of the Scholarship Secretariat, Dr. Kingsley Agyemang, said the arrears will be cleared as processes are far advanced to disburse the funds.
You can't discuss issues of scholarships without reference to the economy. You realize that hitherto, the hitches that we started having from last year, we were even paying stipends in advance. But we are a reflection of the economy. The Russia special military operation in Ukraine the COVID, the ravaging effects of COVID and stuff like that, have all found expressions on the economic outlook of our country. That notwithstanding, the Kufuor-Bawumia government is very much on top of education. Remember, he said to us that education is a single catalyst that has the propensity to propel us to the generation that we want to go. Because Ghana will want to continue to remain globally competitive. So, all this grammar means that His Excellency the President and Vice President have listened to the students. The Ministry of Finance yesterday released a whopping amount of 60 million Ghana cedis for disbursement into about 10 countries. So it's not just Morocco. We are going to sort out Morocco, Algeria, Tanzania, Serbia, Russia, China, India, and the likes, 10 of them. Plans are far advanced for the release so that we sort out the UK, Canada, US, and Germany. So this is a listening government that has really come to the aid of these students. And you have a very listening controller accountant general who has really credited your account with the Bank of Ghana. So it means that, give or take, by today's week, the monies will arrive at the various Ghana missions for disbursement to these students. So timelines, give or take, maximum 2 weeks.
Well, let's see how that goes in 2 weeks. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has stated that Ghana needs a government that will live by its promises and not rely on propaganda. He added that Ghana needs a government that will act, not just talk. Speaking at Hamil, he emphasized that unlike previous elections, which were always between the NDC and the NPP, this year's election is between the people of Ghana and the NPP, which has brought the country to its knees over the past 7 years. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that the former president firmly believes Ghanaians will triumph over the NPP.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, speaking at Hamele, and commiserated with the family of the late NDC chairman of the Lambuse constituency, Alhaji Zakaria. He averred that this year's election, unlike previous elections, will be between the people of Ghana and the New Patriotic Party, NPP. He is of the firm belief that the former will win.
This election is not the usual election between NDC and NPP. This election is an election between the people of Ghana and NPP. And I know that the people of Ghana will win this election. Because in the short space of 7.5 years, this country has been brought down to its knees. And we're dealing with a government that only believes in propaganda. They keep repeating the same thing, the same thing over and over again, so that people will believe that what they're saying is true.
John Dramani Mahama then poo-pooed claims by the Nana Addo Bawumia government that they had constructed more roads in the country than any other government since independence. He queried the government over those claims using the Wasola Bomboy Bole Tachiman Road, otherwise known as the N12, which is in terrible shape, as an example.
Hamile is a border crossing point, very important commercial center. And yet somebody goes around saying that they have done more roads in the history of this country than any other government. Just look at the road that goes to Techiman. All the trucks carrying goods to Mali and Burkina Faso pass on this road. Successive governments did that road until it was complete. Every year we used to do routine maintenance on the road, patch the potholes. Since this government came 7 years ago, look at the Wasola Road. Look at the Bole Bamboy Road. Look at the Bamboy Techiman Road. All in a very deplorable state. And when the president or the vice president comes here and they raise it, they behave as if they didn't know. Oh, okay, we will talk to the Minister of Roads. When are you going to do this road? 6 months more? Definitely you are not going to touch the road. And yet you go, we've done more roads than any government in the history of Ghana. Where are the roads? And so we need a government that will live by its promises. We need a government that will act and not a government that will talk. And so this victory that we will win is a victory for all Ghanaians. And the victory that will win here in Lambusie is a victory for Chairman Zachary.
The former president then headed to Kani to inspect ongoing works on the rehabilitation of the Kani Dam, which broke its banks several years ago. The rehabilitation of the dam came following a request from the chiefs and people of the area to the former president during the Building the Ghana campaign tour of the Upper West region. The economic fortunes of the people of the Kani enclave for years has been dependent on the Kani Dam, but following its banks being broken as a result of torrential rains, many of the youth of the area left to the south of the country for non-existent jobs, and those at home continued to wallow in unemployment and poverty. John Dramani Mahama was impressed with the pace and quality of work at the site.
That this is the kind of development our people are looking for. This is what our people need so that they can earn an income for themselves. An English saying is that, teach me how to fish so that I can catch fish for myself and don't bring me fish. And so I know the election season is here. There are those who will come giving you fish to eat, but there are those who will create the conditions for you to catch your own. It's one such example, that we're doing this for posterity so that you can catch your own fish, you can grow your own crops, you can use water for all kinds of purposes that you want.
Before the rehabilitation is completed, the people are already grateful to the former president for intervening to change their plight.
Your Excellency, we really are very, very excited and very, very thankful to you for this beautiful job you are doing for us. We really didn't expect it. We were thinking that when you are in office that we didn't think about it. But I particularly was surprised when you said that day you were sending engineers to come and do work on the dam for me. I don't know what to say for now. Time will tell.
The school children who normally go through a long road to go, the embankment is also going to serve as a way for them to cross during the rainy season. Everything here that the Excellency, your mama is bringing to us is very much appreciated, and we don't know how to thank him. We are only waiting for 7th December 2024 for us to just use our thumb to pray for him.
The former president earlier was at Bolu to commiserate with the people over the loss of the paramount chief of the area, Bukti Liman. He ended the tour at Jireba, calling on the Jireba royal family and the family of the owner of the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Eric Johnson, over his gruesome murder. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Hamele.
In the Ilembele district in the western region, cocoa farmers are alleging their livelihood is under severe threat due to the rampant illegal mining activities carried out by foreign miners and their local collaborators. The concerned cocoa farmers of Ilembele district, led by Benjamin Azache, have made a passionate appeal to the government through their Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Amakofibwa, seeking urgent intervention against these destructive activities.
Of Ilembele district, specifically from Ignase and its environs, are seeking the intervention of their Member of Parliament regarding the alarming illegal mining activities allegedly purported by Chinese miners in their community. Their livelihoods, they say, is intricately tied to cocoa farming, a cherished trade passed down through generations. The farmers describe how these illegal mining operations have ravaged fertile lands and contaminated vital water resources, essentially for their farming practices.
Aka America can be made as assassin. The other nano, Yamba. Yet was assassin. You said that he was where we would be one day.
So what to be say ha? You don't go and you know Mama share, Manana share.
Gamse kwam ha pada gamse bi si ha ana dia ba ku ya kwakwa ya kutan se enketenketu kwa ya adesa ya atasi ya nsuo obia no wa chana ni bia ne ho adi nsuo bi bra se belu se ne pipe kwa no pe pipe ya pe ne bia ya pe asasi ana gamse no gala ya pe gamse o gana ha
After a 10-kilometer march, the demonstrators presented their petition to Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, who received it with a promise to act on their behalf. The farmers of Elembele district placed their trust in their MP to champion their cause in Parliament and to advocate for the protection of their livelihoods, environments, and rights.
And as I listened to the petition, I listened to the agony and the cries of the cocoa farmers. It resonates across the country. This is exactly why every cocoa farmer is crying, why every cocoa farmer, every farmer indeed in Ghana is on his knees. Because reckless people have basically joined hands with Chinese and Ghanaian collaborators and unknown faces, and are basically destroying our farms. No wonder that Ghana is at the bottom of cocoa production in its history. The cocoa sector is completely gone. If you want to understand why Ghana's cocoa sector is in shambles, just come to Elembele district.
This urgent appeal highlights the ongoing struggle of the cocoa farmers in Elembele district. Their fight against illegal mining is a fight to preserve their heritage, environment, and the future of their community.
Chinese miners and their Ghanaian collaborators have encroached upon our cocoa farms without consent, ravaged vital lands, contaminating our precious river bodies. The environmental degradation caused by these farmers. Moreover, when our farms are seized, the miners arbitrarily set compensation prices without engaging any farmer. The lack of formal agreement or fear leaves us the records to accept inadequate compensation.
For Joy News in Athalia Konsa, Western Region.
In other stories, the Tree Crop Development Authority has established a share pricing mechanism to address the pricing challenges facing the shea industry. The price mechanism, which will commence this season, would create an enabling environment for the sector. The Chief Executive Officer of the TCDA disclosed this at the launch of this year's Shea Expo in Tamale.
The expo brought together stakeholders in the share sector to share knowledge, experience, and explore ways to further develop and promote the share industry. Speaking at the event, the Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crop Development Authority, William Kwato, said the authority has instituted some measures to regulate the share sector.
In our endeavor to create an enabling environment for regulating and developing the tree crop sector, TCDA has initiated several regulatory actions that stimulate private sector investment, particularly in the shea industry. In collaboration with Cocoa Board and through the ILO Productivity Ecosystem for Decent Work project, TCDA has constituted and inaugurated a 17-member share technical working group and established a share pricing mechanism and formula in Ghana that will be implemented from this coming season.
The executive director of the Cocoa Health, Edwin Afari, said they will continue to invest in research, domesticate the crop, and support local processing.
For us in Cocoa Board, we believe that we can invest more in research, domesticate the crop, and then also support local processing. We should invest resources to save the tree from fires and from charcoal production, of course, to provide livelihoods for millions of households in the north, and then to add value to share.
The executive director of the Savannah Golden Tree Limited, Chief Adam Tampuli, said the country was exporting over 70,000 tons of shea and shea butter annually.
Today, we are proudly one of the biggest exporters. We export over 70,000 tons of shea nut and shea butter annually, generating an impressive estimated value of over $112.6 million.
The Northern Regional Minister, Shani Alhassan Shaibu, requested the support of all to change the narrative that the region is a violent region.
Today we are witnessing yet another launch of the Share Expo. It means Tamale, and for that matter UDS, is doing something to deserve these accolades. Tamale is peaceful, and we want to encourage people to help us change the brand name Tamale from a violent area to the most peaceful city in Ghana.
The former municipal chief executive for Sanerigu, Ajia Maria Midrisu, who represented the second lady Samira Baumia, said the industry plays a significant role in the economic development of the youth and women.
The share industry is the cornerstone of the northern region's economy, providing crucial income and employment for thousands of women and youth. It plays a significant role in poverty reduction and economic empowerment.
Ochinhene Osajefo Amwete Oforipeni is urging the privileged in society to come back to their roots and support the development of their communities. Speaking at a deba organized in his honor by the Adontain division of the Achim Ibuakwa State as part of activities to commence his 25th anniversary celebration on the ascension to the Oforipeni stool, Osajefo Amwete Ofori acknowledged that many citizens from Kukrantumi and Tafo have risen to higher places. He said the Adontain division of Achim Ibuakwa State is a citadel of knowledge, which is evident in the many educational institutions scattered over Kukrantumi and Tafo. He asked the natives of the town to return home and support, since development is a shared responsibility. Maxo Kudeko has more in the following report.
He hinted there are several big ways in the information technology industry and other sectors of the economy contributing to national development. He admonished those privileged in high places to come home and support the development agenda of Ochiman. Ochihin acknowledged that there are some impasses within a section of the Adontain division. However, he encouraged all interested parties to follow due traditional and customary procedures in resolving matters relating to chieftaincy.
Engineers in science for dog, as if we went to me. Engineer really said, oh, we are one way to be a general. On to any American who went to me. Well, we'll be here to be Mama, one year to be a general. So I need never go. And we want all day in school. Oh, that's why. As they get down, I said, I'm buying and MPs. And now ministers are there, and now not the American
Delivering the state of Adonting address to the people of Adonting, the Adonting Dasibre Buamadakun eulogized the Ochihin on his exceptional leadership and service to humanity for the past 25 years. He mentioned the numerous developmental projects spearheaded by the Ochihin, including the construction of 10 basic schools, christened the Amotia of Uripenin Model Schools, the establishment of the University College of Agriculture, Environment and Science, and other initiatives to stem the tide of climate change and global warming.
Na wahunu se no na di enkunimdie ebeba ne man ye didana se ni ahye ne bo se dwumadie na ode ahye yensa no ye mpopo yeti e de nkura ye begina mu kopim se onyankopon na ankasa de awie ebeba ne nkwaso ochema nkwaso.
The Adonting Division is the second in command in the institutional hierarchy of the Achim Ebuakwa State. The Adonting assumes responsibility over the administration of the Achim Ebuakwa State in the absence of the Ochihin. It is one of the largest divisions in the Achim Ebuakwa State structure, with over 155 towns and villages. Some of the towns and villages within the Adonting Division includes but not limited to Kukrentumi, Tafo, Esium, Apepem, Techiman, Osiem, Adreji, Nkronso, Akoko, amongst others. Reports by Masuo Kudeko for Joy News.
Coming up next is a business update with Benjamin Akako.
Time for business now, and in our first story, Senior Lecturer of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, has asked the government to fulfill its part of the bargain by committing resources to the Financial Stabilization Fund as a measure of supporting financial institutions affected by the domestic debt exchange program. His comments follow the World Bank's approval of the release of $250 million to support the 5-year Ghana Financial Stability Project. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Amwa said the fund from the Bretton Woods Institution was inadequate to achieve its purpose. Therefore, the need for government to show commitment by shoring up the Financial Stabilization Fund.
The government of Ghana reached that agreement with the World Bank. And so if the World Bank is making due its part of the bargain, it is just fair for the government of Ghana to show commitment. You know, you are in trouble and they are coming to assist you. So you should show a lot of commitment by also contributing your quota to the fund. And so government of Ghana will have no option than to show the needed commitment. Don't forget, this is also a credit facility. So what it means is that at a point in time, we will have to pay back. Definitely, government of Ghana have no option than to show interest. Like they say, half a loaf is better than none. The 250, although it's not enough, it's a good starting point for us. Our government must also contribute its part.
Now, the ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance has settled claims of over 3 million Ghana cedis in the last couple of years to accident victims in the sub-region. The scheme, which caters for citizens of ECOWAS states who travel across the sub-region, has been serving this purpose. Now, addressing the media at an enforcement exercise with the MTTD of the Ghana Police, General Secretary of the Ghana Bureau, Richard Eshen, called on motorists to insist on the collection of their ECOWAS Brown Card insurance certificates whenever they purchased a motor insurance cover.
In Ghana, when you buy your auto insurance policy, you have also paid for the ECOWAS Brown Card insurance. That means that if you buy your motor insurance policy, you have to insist on the insurance company to take your motor ECOWAS brown card certificate. And this will allow you to travel to the neighboring countries, all the West African countries. There are 14. Or if you go there and there's any accident, this is the insurance that will cover you. If you look behind you, you see all the Burkina trucks. As a matter of a couple of weeks ago, we were in Burkina Faso, and we settled claims over 150 million CFA, which is about 3 million Ghana cedis. You understand? So I would say this has been very successful, and it complements the objective of ECOWAS. You know, the objective of ECOWAS is to economic integration and promote free movements of goods and services, persons. And when people come to your country and they get into accident, there's this there that will provide them with the necessary coverage.
And that's it for the business update. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
Yes, Benjamin. And on that note, we're ending the AM News to start the conversations with the newspaper review segment. Stick and stay. We're back in a jiffy. Welcome back to the AM show. It does take you a while. I don't know why you do that. But let me start off by congratulating King Paluta. Of course, I'll do this on air, for winning New Artist of the Year. Congratulations. And Stone Boy for winning Artist of the Year. And the performance, I was on my feet. I was like, oh,
what happened to Olive the Boy?
I don't mean to be biased, but I don't care much about any other person who won anything. It's just
so these awards.
Kudos to you guys.
Right. Are they about, I know there's the hype. For example, you remember the, what's his name? You remember the one corner hitmaker. One corner, what, Patapa.
Patapa, yes.
The year he didn't, you know, some people were saying, oh yeah, it had been wildly popular, but not necessarily, you know, it wasn't given the accolade. I don't know. Sometimes I mean, I've not followed much of Olive the Boy. I've followed practically nothing of King Paluta.
Oh my God.
I am telling you. I mean.
Did you know that I featured in this Asida video?
You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay, now I'm going to check it out. Asida, King Paluta. I'm going to check it out.
It's the hottest song on all streaming platforms.
But I'm saying that listening to most pundits, not just the pundits, but people out there, I heard Olive the Boy, you know, was pretty good. Like I said, I'm confessing, I'm not an expert on these two. Okay. I love my music and I can go down with analysis, but these two people, I've not really followed them. But word on the street was that maybe Olive the Boy should have got it. But I'm happy for Stone Boy. I don't think Shatawale is going to be too happy.
Just starting the performance was, he just killed, he ate and left no crumbs. I mean,
I don't think Shatawale is going to be too happy. Shatawale is a wonderful artiste, maybe with some temperamental issues.
Right.
But what can we say? I was happy for Stone Boy. I didn't follow the event, so it was a blackout for me. I did something totally different.
All right.
I didn't watch the UEFA Champions League final. I didn't follow the TGMAs. I hear there was the Akushika bit. I didn't go any of that. I had some friends from the States in town, so I spend the time with them. But I'm happy. The reason I bring Shatawale into this, right? You remember the last time where the gun-toting incident happened? It was Stone Boy, Shatawale, and that cost Stone Boy Artiste of the Year.
Yep.
So I was just happy from that angle that he had got his second merited gong. This could have been the third.
Yeah.
This could have been the third.
Anyway. My congratulations going out to Afunita, right? And is that her name, the small girl?
I forget the name, but Afronita and the little girl, they are so yeah.
The performances are always energetic. I hear they came third.
Oh, I see.
In the finals, which was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday they came third.
I had followed up to that point, and yeah, followed. But they've lifted the flag of Ghana high, and that's amazing. So everywhere, like we do here on Joy, wherever you are a Ghanaian and you rap, we must do this. But anyway, right before we get to our guest, energy analyst Kojo Poku, right before we get to him, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday, and they're offering you, again, another opportunity, another week. If you're a man, prostate screening, come and let us examine your prostate for free, not me, the medical people there. If you're a woman, your fertility issues, come and get an assessment for free. All you have to do is reach out to them at any of their branches. From here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takra de Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiamanzama. You can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But, sweetie, joining us on phone now, we have energy analyst Kojo Poku, who is also on the energy committee, manifesto committee of the New Patriotic Party. Kojo, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm okay. It's another morning. Since yesterday, it's been a bit chilly, nippy. It's that kind of morning. I'm sure you are.
The weather has been very, very, very nice.
Yeah.
Bad? I thought you'd say good. When it was...
The weather has been very nice. I don't know why. My dear, don't mind Ben.
I think he said nice.
I don't know why Ben always tries to make the bad thing look like a good thing, look like it's a bad thing.
Oh, but I said it was chilly and nippy. I never said it was bad. It's just like yesterday, between leaving someplace and getting to my car at a washing bay, Charlie, the rain, the wind and I was drenched within a period of about 1.5 minutes or 2 maximum. I was drenched, soaked to the skin. The way it started, the wind and everything. And in some places, that isn't a bother for me. But in some places, once it starts raining, you start getting worried. Yeah. And those are the problems, sometimes. But anyway, Kojo, I'm sure you are enjoying the nippy weather better than some of us.
I'm in Cape Coast. The DMB campaign got to Cape Coast yesterday. We are doing a campaign of the Central Region today. So we are looking forward to a very lovely day in Cape Coast. So as I speak to you, I'm looking at the beautiful beach of Cape Coast.
I see. You are in the ancient capital of the Gold Coast. Anyway, please, in a minute, give us your quick thoughts, and then Sweetie Abochi will usher us into the newspapers. What will you talk about today?
Well, I think you mentioned that the Afronita, the other lady is called Abigail. So
yes, that's the name.
Abigail and Afronita. So I think the big congrats to the two. They are doing a marvelous job lifting the flag of Ghana. And on the TGMA, the Music Awards, I personally think that the Kim Promise should have been out of the year. If you look at the year in Terminator, which I think is a big hit, and all songs that Promise has done, he might pick him from. Kim Palita, definitely.
Okay, Kojo? So maybe because you are in Cape Coast and the network is a bit, if you could just reposition yourself. Over the last 15 seconds, it's been all bass we've been getting without much of what you're saying.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You better.
Okay. So I was saying that with the Kim Promise, I think the artist of the year should have been Kim Promise. Okay. But Kim Paluta definitely, after that song, is really doing well, trending. So for me, the best. You can't even know whether it's gospel or not because it's just everything into one. And then he's got another one that is also nice where he says that girls will maybe out or something like that. That's also a very good song.
Yeah, I hate it. That's
you see, Ben, you're out of touch. Me and my dear, we are very much in tune with what's going on. You don't know.
Ben likes la la. Yahweh,
no, he does. Don't mind Ben. Ben is not like that. You see, you and me don't go where Ben goes. So Ben here, he knows, but he's trying to be like he doesn't know. But
okay,
yes,
Kojo, your point has been made. We have to go.
You started the mischief very early today, but I will not join you there this morning.
So let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Kojo,
but exactly.
Okay, let's get into the papers now. Right, so on the Ghanaian Times, front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, free dialysis session for persons below 18, above 60, effective June to December 2024. That is according to the National Health Insurance Authority. Come back home to support development, Ochenhene says. Gamanche leads massive homework cleanup exercise in Accra. Electricity goes up 3.45%, water 5.16% effective 1st July. Let's get into the paper, starting with this story about dialysis, free dialysis for persons below 18 and above 60. The story is on page 8, and it reads, persons suffering from kidney disease aged below 18 and those above 6 years will receive all 8 dialysis sessions per month for free under the National Health Insurance Scheme, effective 1st June 2024 to December 2024. The National Health Insurance Authority has announced the move, according to a statement signed by the Chief Executive Officer of NHIA, Dr. Dacosta Abuaje, and copied by the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday, formed part of its 20th anniversary celebration. It said the source of funding for the intervention was the government of Ghana approved by Parliament an amount of 2 million Ghana cedis in the NHIA's 2024 allocation formula in order to support needy and vulnerable patients seeking dialysis treatment. I remember when he spoke to you, he said it was something they were looking at. The money had reached the accounts, but they weren't sure if they can absorb the cost of all persons in this dialysis issue. But so
they're going to offer partial help, some partial help to all of them in the major hospitals, public ones. So Kolebu, Kath, Tamalehu, among others.
Right. So, Kojo, please hold for me. I'll do all the stories in the Ghanaian Times and then I'll come to you so we can race against time. Promulgates laws against GMO soya bean commercialization in Ghana. The Soya Value Chain Association of Ghana is calling on the Chief of Staff and the Minister of Food and Agriculture to engage with Parliament to promulgate laws to protect the value chain in Ghana as a whole against the commercialization of genetically modified foods, soya beans, in Ghana. According to the association, the commercialization to cultivate GMO soya bean seeds would lead to loss of Ghana's non-GMO soya bean niche market, collapse the domestic market driven by consumers' preference for non-GMO soya bean, and push smallholder farmers out of business. Gamanche leads massive homework cleanup campaign in Accra. Come back home to support development, according to Ochenhene. That story was in our news bulletin this morning. Well, so these are the main stories in the Ghanaian Times. And on the back page, Hearts only ease relegation fears with wins over Nations FC Kotoko. And CAA Region 2nd Athletics Championship kicks off tomorrow. Those stories for your quick reactions. Kojo Poku.
All right, thank you. I think that dialysis is a good thing. It's massive. If you look at the mob rower in our society, even the rich, when they have to go through dialysis, the cost of dialysis, daily cost of dialysis is really massive for the well-to-do in our society. So imagine the mob rower who can barely afford much, So this is a very big shift from government. And I think you and Dacosta is pushing the fact and trying to make sure that a lot of these things go well. Look, we live in a country where we need to pay attention to social intervention. And I think amidst the challenges that we have in the country, the government has not shied from stepping into some of these social interventions. And everybody to applaud the NHIS, the government, for such a massive intervention. If you have a relative who is in that situation, you would really appreciate this kind of help. So I think we should.
Kojo, your line is not clear at all. Can
you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that among all the challenges in the country, the government has not shied away from the social interventions that it's responsible to do. And it's very good initiative that we should applaud. I think if you have a relative or a friend who is in that situation and needs dialysis, you will really appreciate the help that is coming. So I think it's a good thing, and it shouldn't be something that like a 9 days wonder.
Right.
It should continue for a very long time.
Okay. So the Daily Searchlight next, keeping Ghana African funds in foreign banks wrong, says the Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. I'll just do some headlines in here and then we move on to one final paper. Anglo Gold Ashanti celebrates Menstrual Hygiene Day with schoolgirls in Takwa. Let me do the story about keeping Ghana African funds in foreign banks wrong. So Ghana's Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has kicked against African governments investing significantly in foreign financial institutions, using money earned from its most resource-rich sectors. Rather, he called for the establishment of regional funds to draw financial resources for infrastructure development, to propel intra-Africa trade and help solve the recurring economic crisis on the continent. That in itself is all the story. Violence at Kaswa EC office, Hawa Kumsin's son, 3 others injured. Yeah, I saw that over the weekend. Rather tragic story. Fair Trade Africa empowers cocoa sector women with gender training. Then there's an editorial here, finding a lasting solution to the issue of the ever-sinking cedi. So these and many other stories in the Daily Searchlight. You can pick one for yourself and get into the stories. Kojo, quick reaction.
Okay, thank you. I think the issue of the the African reserves in foreign banks. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa, in one of his foreign addresses, made a very big pitch that Africa and African countries should look at putting their reserves in AfriExim, AFDB, EBIT, so that they manage our reserves, because they are the ones that lend us money when we need it. It doesn't make sense for African countries to have their reserves in Switzerland, in America, and in the UKs of this 2024. So I think what my brother, the finance minister, is pushing for is also a continuation of what His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa also mentioned, that there should be a framework. If you look at some of the funds that we have, we tend to now have a fund, but the fund is managed and placed in reserves in the U.S., and we say that, oh, those are the stable markets of the day. But it shouldn't. It should be with the regional banks that help us, because it doesn't make sense if I have reserves and it goes to the U.S., but then it's EBIT and AfriExim that are now going to find money in this same market. So if foreign banks will lend our money to the regional development banks to give it back to us at a certain interest. Why don't they have it directly? So I think that's a very good thing that he mentioned. Violence at the EC centers. Look, we've done with the registration. What is happening now is the transfer. I don't see why there are agents at these centers fighting. And as you said, our sister, Hawa Kumsin's brother, was stabbed. I don't know how true that story is. But the most important thing is that EC has immediately responded and said that no district office should allow party agents to observe transfers, because that's not the situation. I don't know why now transfers also need agents there, like the way the registration needs agents there. So they've directed through a letter that we should not have agents who are monitoring at these centers. District officers should not allow them to do that. So I think that will go a long way to stop the violence at this stage.
All right, thank you, Kojo. I'll just do the front pages of the Ghanaian publisher. Ambulance trial, AG tells court to dismiss accused person's application. Majority exposes minorities' hypocrisy. I think that's on the 800 million tax waiver issue. Ghana ranked 5th best governed country in Africa. An Energy Digest newspaper, tanker drivers laud NPA. Ghana not broke to procure high and low voltage poles. According to the energy minister, Ghana targets net zero emissions by 2070 and Africa Energy Bank to be ready by 3rd quarter of 2024. Benjamin Akako.
Well, let me quickly get into some papers, but I just remembered, you know, one of the highlights of the TGMAs, do you know?
Tell me.
King Promise's shoe.
Every year.
You know, right from when he used the Balenciaga, whatever. Now, people focus on what sneakers or shoe he's going to be wearing. And this year wasn't a disappointment. No. The Terminator came and terminated the footwear bit. But let me get into the Daily Guide, my stack of papers very quickly. Ghana and the African Development Bank signed a $103 million grant agreement. One stabbed in Kaswa NDC-NPP clash. Come back and support development, Oching Hines says so. Then, after forcing JACPA applications frivolous, that's according to the AG. And I'll just do that story on page 3 and then move on. All this talk about, sometimes I remember that Kenke party, and I know Kojo is not going to agree with me, but also referencing other administrations. I've never seen a Kenke party celebrating alone, but other administrations sometimes making it like, oh, we've got this sum of money, so yeah, we're doing something. We are getting the 250 million. When will you be not necessarily self-sufficient in the sense that you do not need anybody, but when will Ghana actually go beyond aid in the sense of being sufficient to some extent? We're always celebrating Obi Mao Lokofio, and you never can manage your own affairs. But so I'll avoid those ones. But do the story. The police yesterday arrested 2 people in connection with a stabbing incident that occurred at the Electoral Commission's district office at Ofanko near Kaswa in the central region. The injured was identified as Atukumsin, the son of Mavis Hawakumsin, Member of Parliament for Utusinya East and Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. He was stabbed during a confrontation between supporters of the MPP and the NDC at Ofanko. Now, Atukumsin was stabbed in the chest and taken to the 37 military hospital in Accra due to the severity of the injuries, the Daily Guide has gathered. It goes on and on, but this is what I will say to our political elite. This gentleman, I don't know, casualty of maybe the rancor, the polarized atmosphere we have, but I always reference this quote where it says someday, and it may seem tangential, but it says someday the poor will have nothing else to eat but the rich. So those who are up there in society, mind you, as elections get close, we know all the sides. I'll not just say both sides. All the sides will try and use young people, do this and do that. Let's bear in mind, it may come back to bite you someday. The chickens may come home to roost. That's what I'll say on that. But very sad incident. I don't know why we've got to this point where people are being stabbed over, politics and all of that. Really sad. And I hope the gentleman, makes it. After forcing JACPA applications frivolous, that's according to the AG. Now, the Office of the Attorney General has described as frivolous and a complete waste of the court's time 2 applications filed by Minority Leader Dr. Kasilato Forson and businessman Richard JACPA seeking to essentially terminate their trial in the 2.37 million euro defective ambulance case. Affidavits filed in opposition to their applications before a high court in Accra averred that, quote, the accused persons are bent on using any means necessary, fair or foul, to abort their legitimate prosecution for crimes committed against the Republic and must not be aided in that illegitimate endeavor through a grant of the instant application. But I also want to ask you, Mr. AG, while I freely read what you have said and how you feel other things are illegitimate, some of what has been said, if proven true, and I'm still to hear that the tape out there has been doctored because there's no proof yet. How do you feel about your end of purported illegitimacy and the claims that maybe the president and the finance minister pushed you into this, that you were also willing to go along with it, and that these other people were added as collateral damage so it wouldn't appear you were on a witch hunt for the minority leader? I'm not saying you've done that. I'm saying, how do you react to those claims about illegitimacy? How do you react to the calls for you to resign? Then finally, electricity and water tariffs to increase July the 1st. Well, so the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has announced that electricity tariffs for residential and non-residential consumers will increase by 5.84%, while water tariffs will increase by 5.16% starting from July the 1st, 2024 to September the 30th, 2024. What can I say? Let's brace ourselves. Quick reactions.
Well, don't say much, Ben. You said it. You said enough. Don't say much.
That's why I said let's brace ourselves, and that's it. Your take, Kojo.
Okay, that's good. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think I will start from the what you call it, the actual forcing issue. That
I knew you would start from there.
Yeah, no, but I just want to give a bit of a clarity. Then I'll move on to the tanker driver situation that was mentioned earlier by my sister. Look, I think that there are two issues. There is a case in court that is being basically trialed. Now, if through the trial of that case, some other issues have come up, I think people should take the right channels to seek redress. We shouldn't bundle the two. If this issue of, because this has been said, allegedly, and all the tapes and all the things that we are hearing, even if there is need to be a court case, it wouldn't be heard in the same court case where this ambulance trial is being heard. That would be heard in a different court case. So
I don't think, Kojo, that anyone has suggested. I don't think anyone has suggested that the two issues are the same.
That is the application they make. They are making application for their trial to be discontinued because of the other issues that have come to the public domain.
Let's get it correctly. Jakpa says, for example, that he was only brought in upon the insistence of the AG that, listen, play along, incriminate Atoforsen.
Allegedly.
No, that's what I've said. That's his claim. He's claimed that. And that for you, I mean, there's nothing really, but so it doesn't appear to be some sort of sham. Play along. And now he's realizing that things may not be taking that turn. You think that's not valid?
Well, let's see. Let the trial. Look, there have been cases where people have been taken to court and they've been discharged because there was no claim against, there was no case against them. Okay? If you were brought in and the evidence in court does not substantiate your guilt, you'll be discharged. It's never a case where we've not seen. The case where people are in jail today, right? Some of them were let off. The one that recently, I can't remember the name of the case, but there were cases that people were let off. The one with the coup, the mutiny one, the one that the coup maker, some were jailed, some were let off, right? So anything that anybody can be confident is that the judge will do the right thing. The judge would look at the evidence in front of the court and adjudicate and say that you are guilty or not guilty. And those that are guilty will go to jail. Those that are not will be left. So if Japa feels that he is basically a collateral damage and he doesn't have to be in court, let's not go and bring application in that same court that, take me out of the case. No, leave the AG to prosecute his case. Bring your lawyer to defend your case. At the end of the day, guilt or not guilty, then everybody will have a clear mind that this is what has happened. Let's not mingle it. That is what everybody is doing in the media. And in everywhere that you go, people are co-mingling the happenings in the social media, the happenings on radio, the happenings on TV, with the case that is before a competent judge. So I think everybody should just leave it. If they have other issues they think they've not been treated fairly and they think it's criminal, they should file and let the process take its case and go to a different court for it to be heard. On the issue of the tanker drivers, I want to just spend a minute to explain. Look,
we don't have a minute, maybe some 30 seconds on that.
Yes, please. We are in a country where there's a bit of injustice being done to our tanker drivers. What the MPA is trying to do is basically correct this injustice. So let not everybody read meanings into, why is this happening? And the tanker drivers are striking because their owners, the tanker owners, don't pay them. And what MPA is trying to do is to make sure that a fund is set up. Only 13% of the the UPPF is going to be put aside to make sure that they are paid well, and then some allowances is also given for the trips that they do. The other one I will go on is the increase in the electricity tariffs that we've had. I think, look, everybody should understand that this reviews, whenever it's done, sometimes it's on our side, sometimes it's not. The last review that was done, residential customers got a marginal decrease in electricity. Because of other factors, as the fluidity in the exchange rate, inflation, fluidity, and also some gas price have gone up, we are having to see this 5%. All things being equal, in the next review, I can assure you that these increases will be reversed, because most of the fluidity...
You say they will be what, reversed?
Yes, because in the last window, there was a reduction. I won't say it will be reversed as in they will bring it back, but there would be... That's why I call it fluidity. We are in an economic situation where there's a lot of fluidity in our exchange rate, a lot of fluidity in our inflation. that is not where it's going to be a month, 2 months from now. Definitely, the policies that the central bank is being put in place, the interventions that the government is making, is going to bear fruit. So you're looking at maybe 2 months from now, these gains will come in, and this 5.84% would now be reviewed and hopefully reduce further. So everybody should just take it on our cheek and basically 5.8%, just move on and stuff.
I like how you say we should all take it on our cheeks. Sounds very,
no, we should all take it on our cheeks.
Anyway, Kojo, we have to move on. I'll just do this and we'll be out of here in about a minute. The Daily Statesman, 52 million Ghana cedis for student loans, actually. And Nooks commends government for release. This is a thorny matter. I could have gone into it better, but I'll just leave it there. The only story I want to get into briefly, it's in the Business and Financial Times. Economist advocates indigenizing contracts to strengthen cedi. It's on page 3 of the paper. Economist Professor Charles Acker has called for strong measures to curb the cedi's decline. He proposes using more local contractors to keep money circulating within the local economy as opposed to being used to purchase foreign exchange to repatriate profit. This follows analyses citing payments to foreign contractors and independent power producers as a major factor in the outflow of foreign exchange and the cedi's depreciation, he said. But at the same time, too, sometimes, a lot of the time, I'll not even say sometimes, when there are going to be local contractors, it gets political. And that's where the problem is. I'm all for local, but even when we're going to go local, it must be political. We have problems in this country. Kojo, you have some 20 seconds and we are gone. Hello, Kojo?
The money is coming from the foreign donor agency or foreign loan. All the GOG, Government of Ghana contracts go to local companies. I don't think anybody, GOG does not take foreign companies and change dollars to pay them. All GOG contracts, road fund contracts, all the contracts within the country goes to Ghanaian companies. I don't see there's any foreign companies who are doing this in Ghana, except that foreign company is bringing the financing themselves, which is a loan contracted between government to government, G2G loans, and that money will be paid back in the
He mentions the IPPs. Are we paying the IPPs in cedis?
The IPPs are paid in cedis at the rate of the dollar. So
exactly.
They are not $100.
What is that? It's the same thing.
They are paid. Say it again.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not hardly the same thing. If I'm paying you in cedis, the cedi comes into your account at the rate at the central bank. How is that paying you? It's not that I'm going to look for dollars to give you the money. When they go and change, it's up to you. I don't know what people do with their money.
Okay, all right.
We don't pay the IPPs in dollars. We pay them in cedis at the Bank of Ghana rate.
Okay, thank you, Kojo Poku. He's an energy analyst. He joined the conversation from Cape Coast today, which is exciting. You wouldn't usually get him from there. The point I was just making is that whether you're paying in cedis or dollars, they are going to, first off, you're paying them at a certain level because your currency is flat out, getting beaten. And even after that, they are also going to mop up dollars in your system and repatriate, which keeps putting pressure on our currency. I don't know why. But anyway, this is where we draw the curtains on the news review. You're nodding like that.
Something you said just brought to mind. It was the best of times. It was
the worst of times.
This is how it started. And before we know it, French Revolution. So they should keep doing what they're doing. What you said about the citizens, the poor will eat the rich. We are heading there slowly.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully.
But this is how we cap off the news review, brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening for men, free fertility screening for women. Reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma Abue here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takra DNIG State, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanso and Esiaman Zema. You can reach them on 0244 867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sport is up next. Yes, the Champions League. Yes, Gilles, Big Bang, Zhang toppling Deontay Wilder. And yes, you have the other ones as well. Senor Dubois doing it to Philip Hergovich. All of that and more coming your way in Sports Tuesday.
Good morning and welcome to the sports segment on the AM show. My name is Harun Mubarak. Now, Samatex are champions of the 2023-2024 Ghana Premier League season following their win over BBN Gold Stars. The Timber Giants unlocked a new milestone in their history just a season after being promoted into Ghana's top flight. Now, Samatex won the league title with 2 games to spare after Aduana and Midiama were handed defeats in their respective games over the weekend. Elsewhere, Hearts of Oak claimed a 2-0 win over Nations FC to boost their survival hopes. Elsewhere, another setback for Asante Kotoko as they suffered a 1-0 defeat to Great Olympics. Highlights for you.
Linda trying to pick out Kosa. He does want to keep the ball in, and Kosa swings in across, and that's the opening goal for the Phobians. Cisse puts the Phobians ahead. 6 minutes into the game, and Hearts of Oak are in the lead. Kosa to Hamza. Now Linda. Good run from Linda. Now Hamza. It's a lovely turn, and it's a brilliant finish. Wonderful goal from Hamza Issa to take his goal tally to 13 this season. What an amazing strike from Hamza Issa. The Phobians stay very alert in defense. That's a Great Olympics come forward, but that's a long telling pass. Gets to its intended target as well as Matthew. It's a push from the back. That's Agama's free kick. Swung in nicely. Oh! He has been pushing forward and pushing forward since the game began, and Raymond Oko Gripman has been rewarded with a goal. And look at the quick reaction from the Accra Great Olympics faithful in the VIP box. Frederick Asari completely beaten. Asari was let loose, and it's all joy and smile.
Now, a win for Hearts of Oak, defeat for Asante Kotoko. Let's check out the rest of the results for match day 32 of the Ghana Premier League. So, yes, there you go. In Swaziland, they also played out a 1-1 draw with Accra Lions. Brekum Chelsea, they defeated Rosamali United by 2-0. Midiama, they lost at home to Hearts of Lions. And Samatex, their 1-0 win over Gold Stars, that handed them the Ghana Premier League title. We've got Dreams FC as well, who defeated Kerala United by 1-0. Let's check out the table. And it's Samatex with 2 games to spare. They have won the Ghana Premier League title with 58 points. You have Diana, Medium, and Nations FC completing the top 4. Accra Lions, Bechem United, Brekum Chelsea, Nsawatiriman, and Legon Cities ending the top half of the table. Now, on the bottom half of the table, we've got Asante Kotoko. They are in 10th, BBN Gold Stars in 11th, and Hearts of Oak in 12th. Accra Hearts of Lions, they have moved out of the relegation zone and they are in 13th. Dreams FC, Kerala United, they've all escaped the relegation for now. We've got Great Olympics, Royal Tamale United, and Bofakwa Tano in the relegation zone. Now, Nations FC have secured promotion to the Ghana Premier League after winning the Division 1 League Zone 3 title. Vision managed the historic feat on Sunday when they defeated Uncle TFC 2-1. Now, Vision's last game is a dead rubber affair away to already relegated Susubribi United. And we will see Nations FC in the Ghana Premier League next season. Yep, now hundreds of football fans enjoyed that particular final viewing experience. That is an event powered by Hits FM and Joy Sports. Razak Musbao has more.
It was a very successful event here at the Aviation Social Center for the 2024 edition of the Hits FM Rep Your Jersey. Hundreds of people turned up here to come and cheer their respective clubs. Manchester United fans, Chelsea fans, you know, a number of them, their clubs didn't quite have a very successful season. Barca fans, Chelsea fans, you know, they didn't quite have a successful season, but they came here to try and have a moment of fun, and that's exactly what they got. The event started in the afternoon with some basketball event, you know, some soccer, there was handball, and there was a FIFA game, which caught quite some attention. you know. And then there was the quiz, you know, the quiz which tested the people's knowledge about the Champions League. It turned out really well, And the climax of it all was the Champions League game proper, where we all viewed it here, and there was commentary. And I'm telling you, the fans of Real Madrid clearly were satisfied seeing their club win the 15th Champions League trophy. And you know, and we spoke to some of them after the game.
Oh, I told you before, the teams are very good. Dortmund and Madrid. I think this is the first time Dortmund is facing Real Madrid, and I think they did really great. They should have taken their chances, you know. Yeah, so hard luck to them, and I pray that in the near future they will be the champion maybe next season, right?
Disappointed.
Oh dear, man.
I'm very disappointed because today I'm a Chelsea fan, but Madrid, me I know say them is stealing team. So I'll be very disappointed.
We never the cup final they lose, you know. We never the Madrid fans.
Yeah, the best claim in the world. I swear.
I'll give me the anthem.
Allah Madrid, Allah Madrid, Madrid, Inanamas, Allah Madrid.
Well, it didn't end there. Mercury K took to the stage and gave us the real after party moment. It was jams upon jams, and the people clearly had something to bounce to, you know.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
I will use a 4 pedo wo Michel, me so my dodge. Or the na bochela pussy na bochela wawa.
The swag, that's it. I be put the flower, check us in
Today is my first time here. I've been missing it year on. But today, I really enjoyed what I came here to do. I really had fun. It's one of the best moments of the season for Real Madrid fans.
You know, I'm so excited to be here today. You know, today is my first time coming to this program. You know, I've been listening to Hit FM from day one, but today, you guys have really shown us that, Charlie.
Yeah, you are the
Charlie,
man.
see, next year we are here. We're rapping live. Hit FM Rap Your Just 2025. We are here. My name is Ofaka.
We are rapping.
Next season you go see we for here again. Next season you go see.
We are rapping.
Gala Madrid.
Yeah, so that's what unfolded here at the 2024 Hit FM Rep Your Jersey. It was an exciting moment here. You can see everybody was very well satisfied with the turn of event, the jams, the after party, the sporting activities that unfolded here. It was a really, really good moment. They are already looking for the 2025 edition. And of course, what can we say? Adios.
And that's your sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak, and thanks for watching.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to kickstart matters, but we're going to start the conversation off, as far as our big stories are concerned, heading to South Africa's governing ANC, which has lost its outright majority in the country's parliament for the first time since South Africa started on the democratic path some 30 years ago. We go as far back as 1994. But what does this mean for the country's political future? There's a lot we're going to be unpacking there, because there's the ANC losing its majority, and then there are parties like the EFF, the MK, and crucially the DA, which is predominantly white-powered. Well, joining us for a conversation on all of these matters this morning, we have Tendai Mbanje. He's an election analyst. He's also Deputy Chief Observer for the African Center for Governance Election Observation Mission to South Africa for the 2024 elections. Tendai, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I'm curious, which part of South Africa specifically are you in currently?
I'm in Johannesburg.
Joburg, right. Good to have you join the conversation. Now, just to start the conversation, how odd, how curious is it, this election and the outcomes we have seen so far? A few days ago, we realized that as polls, went on, as counting started, we realized that a certain picture was coming to play. But now that counting has concluded, what are the stark takeaways from the South African election?
The takeaway from this election is that the people have spoken, the will of the people have manifested in various ways, particularly how the votes were divided. You see that the election was one of the highly contested since the country's democracy 30-year mark. You realize that this is also an election where independent candidates contested for the first time. Several political parties contested for the first time. It was quite a very interesting election. So the key takeaway is that the votes have been divided across the divide, leading to the ruling African National Congress losing its majority by 14% down. So what we see in this particular election is that there is no outright winner, which leads to a coalition, the possibility of a coalition government.
So for the first time in 3 decades, we're looking at the formation of a coalition government. But for the ANC, how did the party get here? It's been getting huge percentages in elections, always having the majority. And now it is going to have to depend on other parties to form some sort of coalition. What does it mean for the ANC?
It means that the ANC has lost the trust that the people had in it for the past 3 decades. Poverty has been exacerbated by the impact of the COVID-19, which the ANC failed to articulate to the population and how it could have addressed such an impact. Unemployment, high levels of unemployment among the youth. As you also are aware that South Africa is high crime. The ANC government has been perceived to have failed to address issues of crime, issues of migration, irregular migration. The ANC government has been seen as being failing to come up with solid solutions to such. And most importantly, gender-based violence, for example, you may realize that South Africa has high record of such. So there are many issues at stake that the young people, that the citizens were not happy with. And hence it is manifested in such kind of a result where they have decided to express their choice to say we are looking at the alternative unless you have to fix the issues on the ground.
And you look at the decline. You've mentioned a few factors. You've mentioned crime. I mean, there's power generational issues as well. You've mentioned gender-based violence. There's also unemployment, and among a cocktail of other factors. But does it account for the steep decline? The ANC has not, over the last maybe 10, 15 years, been as popular as it was before. But it's managed to, get itself through. Take 2019, for example, over 57% of the votes. And then now, the stark drop, almost 17% of votes, falling to 40.18%. Are there other issues where the people just tired of the ANC, for example? And is that what has got us here?
I think you're right to some extent. What you may realize is the kind of political leaders that we have in liberation movements. Over the time, they have degenerated. They've been perceived to be degenerating. They've been involved in corruption. They have failed to address issues of corruption. They've condoned corruption. They have siphoned state resources, state capture, among other things. So it also speaks to the kind of politicians that have been contesting that people no longer have trust in them. They have been seen to have lost integrity. So election is twofold. People are voting for what the party can do, the manifesto, what the party is capable of doing to the people, for the people, but also they look at the kind of politicians they breed and the caliber of politicians. I think it also speaks to the degeneration of such political actors, which has led to the ruling party to where it is, perhaps. That is what we are gathering.
I see. And even before we delve into some others when it comes to the ANC, I'd like to find out the MK party, Jacob Zuma, in fact, quoting the national chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, and I may have murdered the name, so do correct me if I have. Speaking to DW, she made mention of the fact that Zuma was mainly to blame for the party's heavy losses, as his departure from the party decimated the ANC. She says he took a big chunk of the AMC's votes. How is Zuma viewed now by the ANC fraternity or community and by ordinary South Africans? How is the ANC viewing Zuma and his MK party, and how are ordinary South Africans reacting to it? Are they happy with what has happened?
So Zuma is viewed in twofold. Now I'm speaking in my head as an election analyst. Zuma is, yes, still he commands a huge following within the ANC. Even when the ANC started splitting in terms of the camps, the certain groups who follow who and so forth. So he's still a respected figure there. So he had his own issues which led him to be jailed. And he had also his issues that he felt like the ANC had betrayed him to some extent. So you may realize that his relationship with the incumbent, he has been seen to have deteriorated. And then there are also people who are against Zuma's kind of politics. So he is twofold. There is a huge population within the ANC that still respects Zuma, and outside the ANC. So what happened is that he came at a time when the party was weak, its weakest, when it's deeply divided. And he managed to take all those who are aggrieved, those who are not happy with the party, to follow him. Of course, you can see that how that is manifested in the voting. And also there were so many South Africans who were politically homeless that he managed to house. So I've been where he came in the results center, you could see the euphoria.
Hello, Tendai.
Loved man, and that is one thing that the ruling party underplayed. They underplayed his influence in the party, and they've resulted in him splitting the votes in such a very impactful way.
Right, and that's an interesting point you make. Jacob Zuma was underestimated, and he's cost the ANC in terms of their electoral fortunes. But in terms of a coalition, at least now that is the talk there, it's quite a maze that the ANC has to navigate. If they want to go the way of the DA, which has come up strongly, white majoritarian, some would say, wait, are you taking us back to the time of apartheid? What would this mean for the majority black community? Though there are other policies in there. If they want to lean towards MK and the EFF, they are more supportive of some of what has happened in Zimbabwe, claiming land from white people, farmers and all of that, which some people say is not the way to go. But it's going to be tricky for the ANC. In terms of a coalition, how do you see things panning out now?
So the ANC has to choose the lesser evil. They have to choose the people. So in terms from the analysis on the ground, from what I've been gathering and reading and also consulting with people, in terms of ideology, there's a dualism, there's a huge difference between the ideology of the ANC and of the Democratic Alliance, for example, which is the second biggest party and the biggest player in this particular election. So you may realize that the ANC is pro the East, it's friends with Russia, China, and so forth, Iran, and the other countries, whereas the Democratic Alliance is pro the West and United States. So you realize that in terms of policy, foreign policy, there will be some serious tensions or contradictions that needs to be harmonized. So, but in terms of the economy, it is perceived that if the ANC is to go with the DA, there are chances that the economy will escalate. But in terms of also ideology, the ANC and the EFF, they agree on fundamental issues, although they do have a slight divergence in terms of certain radical or radical philosophies or ideology that some of the radicalism that is perceived to have that the EFF has. And as far as the MK is a very confusing party, because right now we don't know exactly what they stand for, except that they want to change the constitution, they want to change the laws, they want to radicalize and get rid of what the status quo. So in terms of maintenance of rule of law, constitutionalism, stability, and so forth, and international reputation, I think aligning themselves with the DA could keep the country at its feet, or perhaps with the EFF, as what people are saying on the ground. But
so are you saying that there's no chance they could collaborate with Jacob Zuma's MK?
Indeed, because one of the demands that Jacob Zuma's MK is saying that they can only talk with the ANC if Cyril Ramaphosa is out of the picture. They cannot speak to Cyril Ramaphosa's ANC, as they call it. We cannot speak with Cyril Ramaphosa's ANC, but we can speak with the ANC. So that's what is at stake.
What then is the future of the ANC? As we wind down on this conversation, what then is the future of the ANC? Cyril Ramaphosa himself, speaking after this, said the people had spoken. So the ANC accepts that there are issues. But how will they navigate this terrain? You've already spelled out some of what we can expect. But what do you see happening? How does the ANC become that juggernaut, political juggernaut in South Africa again?
So there are two things that the ANC, one thing that the ANC has done well is to concede. When you lose as a part of integrity, you concede defeat. And we applaud President Cyril Ramaphosa and his team and his party for such political maturity, which speaks to the fundamental tenets of democracy. And we are so pleased to see that. So what they need to do is to way forward. They need to rebrand, and they need to regroup, because you may realize that liberation movements, when they turn 30 years of existence, they start degenerating. It's well proven in research. So you need to realize the need to regroup and rebrand, and perhaps to make serious sacrifices to the party. This means perhaps having to get rid of, or having to push aside certain elements that have been taking the party's integrity down. This means also taking decisions to part ways with certain figures, even though they are influential, but for the good of the people.
Well, Tendai, grateful for your thoughts on these matters. Unless you have any final comments, we're going to wrap it up here. But maybe just your parting shots, since you're with the Africa Center for Governance Election Observation. What did you notice? Were the elections as free and fair as South Africans would have wanted it? That would be my final bit to you.
Indeed, the elections were free and fair. They met minimum standards of credibility. The elections were done in the confinements, in the framework of the law. The courts were heavily involved. Fundamental rights were respected, and freedoms. Our observer mission did not note any violation of rights and freedoms during these elections. We also noted there were no loss of life. It was quite highly contested and yet peaceful, although there were glitches in election administration, which we believe that could be resolved in future elections. But we congratulate the people of South Africa, as well as the IEC, for high professionalism in the conduct of the election.
Tendai, we're immensely grateful that you took the time to join us this morning. Thanks for sharing your wealth of experience and knowledge with us on the AM show. We're grateful.
Thank you so much.
All right. And that is Tendai Mbanje. He's an election analyst and deputy chief observer for the African Center for Governance Election Observation mission to South Africa 2024. And that's from South Africa, if you've followed what has been happening. And if you have not, that is what is happening there. But you know, something on my mind, some of the issues based on which South Africans decided to do some, shift in their system when it comes to the ANC. I'm beginning to wonder, about our own country. But anyway, those are conversations we'll have as our own elections approach. Do stay with us on the AM show. Still to come, we're going to be talking about the Teacher Licensure Exam and that what is now becoming that infamous Dr. Cassiel Atto-Forson case. We'll be back. Welcome back on the AM show. If you see the gavel behind me, it means we're going to be talking about the law. And in this instance, it has to do with what is now becoming an infamous development. Dr. Cassiel Atto-Forson, Richard Jakpa, among others, versus the Attorney General of Ghana, Godfred Yeboah Dame. It has to do with that tussle that has brought forth many revelations. Today, we're going to address those issues, but on the standpoint of integrity, accountability, and what is expected of public office holders. And joining the conversation, we have Mary Awelana Ada. She's Executive Director, Ghana Integrity Initiative. Throughout these conversations, we've not heard a take from her establishment, and some such related groupings. This morning, we want to narrow down, zero in on those and what they think. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning to your viewers.
It's really good having you join the conversation with us this morning. Thank you for your time. I'd like to start off. You followed what has been happening. Before we get into the salient matters, what do you make of everything that has happened over the last few weeks and the concern of ordinary Ghanaians as far as this issue is concerned? What do you make of the interest and how we've got here?
So, for us, one of the things we would expect is that when issues are before the court, the most salient issue is the issue of fairness, because that's where we can get that. And then trust that the system would deal with each and every issue without any compromise. And so we expect the Attorney General to prosecute, and we expect that the defense lawyers and accused would also then set their agenda and come out there to defend themselves with the best possible evidence they have to support their cases, and the Attorney General doing the same. We do not in any way that people should not try to make sure that, but then see that people
Madam Mariada, I would be grateful. It's partly, I guess, some network challenges and the rains, but if you could reposition yourself, maybe we could hear you better. We're struggling a bit with the connection.
Can you hear me now?
Much better. Thank you.
Great. So what I am saying is that we expect the courts to be a place where justice is applied. Right. And so when we hear there are other issues going on behind it, and people are both trying who they will, then it's of voting. And must say that some of things should not be encouraged, because when we live in a global stage, we live in a space where people would act and then take all the connotations about it. So we pride ourselves at a place where democracy is thriving. All of Africa looks up to us that we are leading the charge. And so if we do some of these things and they come up, it's one of the most disappointing issues that we need to condemn without any equivocation at all. No matter what the intentions are, for us, we want to promote trust in our systems. We want to make people feel that when they go to court, it is the court that will dispense of justice. and not people doing things behind the scenes to ensure that that's happening.
Now, there is the issue of this matter having lasted since, 2017 or 2019, thereabouts, and how it has been dealt with, culminating in the push by the AG in an electoral year. Some say it is not good for the optics. But then you have the other claims that have been made, whether true or not. At least we have that tape out there which purports to have the Attorney General conversing with Mr. Jakpa, Richard Jakpa, and some claims that are made which do not put, the court processes in a good light. Then there is the subsequent claim that the AG had told Mr. Jakpa, and I'm saying claim, so it's an allegation, that he had told him that it was only on the instance or insistence of the president and the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, that he was doing this and that he was using the other accused as collateral damage, that nothing would happen to them. But so it wouldn't appear it was targeted at Dr. Kassia Lato-Forson. That was why these things were being done. The courts will decide the merits or otherwise of those and whether to even accept such evidence. But from where you sit, what does that positioning do to the integrity of not just the Attorney General, but the department he heads and the entire legal system?
Unfortunately, you realize that perceptions have a big role to play in what we work on, and I'm talking about promoting integrity and accountability of public office. The optics are not good, and we must not in any way say it's any other thing. We should, from the issues, number one, we are not saying that when people do wrong, they should not be brought to account. No, we are saying that when people do wrong, they should be brought to account, they should defend themselves, and when they are culpable, they should be dealt with. If they are not, they should be set free. Number two, we also know that in the court process, one of the things that has happened in Ghana in prosecuting whether misappropriation or doing things that are not supposed to be so, or corruption, takes a long time because of the gathering of evidence and also bringing up witnesses and others. We do not want to see people being dealt with wrongly, and so the courts will take time. This is one of the issues we have spoken to over a long time, that we need to see courts that are set up specifically for these purposes to ensure that we quickly dispense of some of these cases for people to either be punished or set free. Again, when it is heard that the president of the land, we do not know, we cannot confirm, but this is what the Attorney General in his conversation with the gentleman has said, that it is the president and the finance minister who want the issues to be dealt with quickly. And for that matter, others are just on for the optics. If this is indeed true, then we have issues. Because how can the Attorney General be pushed by the president, who is a human rights lawyer? He is the executive president of this country and not a president of a party. So the president is supposed to represent everybody. Then we come to the finance minister. What would his role then be? Why would the finance minister want the former deputy finance minister to be dealt with quickly? These are issues we need to further interrogate. They do not paint a good picture for us. Whatever we say, if what the gentleman has said is fact, then we need to condemn this without equivocation. We need to say it as plainly as possible that we should not have the president pushing for some issues. What about all the other issues? Why are we not seeing pushes going on there? We need to ensure that we are dealing with people fairly. allow the court process to go on. And the Attorney General is himself, who has touted his integrity in the past. If these side meetings, secret meetings, as the gentleman has alluded, if these are true, and the intention behind these were to pull and drag some people, then we must say that this is very unfortunate. It does not portend very well for all of us, and the image it is creating out there is that we pull strings behind the scenes, and what we do physically for everybody to see is manipulated. This does not paint a good picture for the justice delivery system in Ghana, and we must all pay attention to this and speak against this.
Now, the justice in question, who is a justice of the Court of Appeal sitting as an added High Court judge, has said that she will not be affected by any of the public discourse, which is why she has said that the parties should stop speaking so much about the matter in the public, but that she will focus on what the law says to deal with the issues. That should give everybody satisfaction, right?
That is good enough for now. However, we are not saying what the judge will do in this case, but the optics are worried because now we are getting the information that things like this would happen. And then you know better as well on these issues of the law, because some of the things which were not maybe permitted may not be accepted in court as evidence.
True.
And so for that, if they will not be accepted, but then what we are saying about is the issue of ethics. And the ethics of these is what we should all be paying attention to. Because what may not be criminal and may not be admissible evidence in court could have a very detrimental effect on the person's integrity out there. And what the public says is also very important and feeds into and shapes policy. So we must be careful and pay attention to this, not just from the point of view of the justice who is not going to be affected.
What then does this do? And I'm going to ask this question cautiously, because I know, for example, now that lawyers for Honorable Ato Forson have filed a supplementary affidavit in support of the motion on notice for an order of a mistrial, injunction, or stay of proceedings, as far as this case is concerned. Just citing a bit of it, because there's a statement from his party. They argue that if a mistrial is not ordered, and such blatant disregard for the rule of law and the ethics, and this is their wording, not mine, for the rule of law and the ethics of prosecution by the AG and Minister for Justice is glossed over and allowed to pass without any consequences, public confidence in the administration of justice will be adversely impacted. That is what they are saying. And the application is likely to be moved on Tuesday, the 4th of June, 2024. I see. Does
then
this...
why don't we allow that process to be moved? But I think we should. As the judge has said, this is not going to affect her in any way. So we should allow the process to go on. And as they have requested as well, let everybody see what is happening on a daily basis. And since we still have some trust in the justice delivery system, and as the judge has also indicated, I believe that we should wait for the justice of the court, leadership, the appeals court judge, finish this case. Because if they want to do it on a daily basis, which I've heard the Attorney General's office not have any issues with. So let's see how the whole hall goes. Let's end and see how it is. And then, public opinion would not have any effect on the court system. But then on the masses, we certainly are aware of the positions people will take definitely.
Right. I have just two more questions for you, and then we can go. The day-to-day proceedings, as requested by, I believe it's Alfred Tuayabua, the Deputy AG, that is in the picture. And then there is the other one where, the LGBTQ court proceedings recently were open to the public, one of those novelties that we've seen. There has been the call from Atoforsen's side that this one too should receive that same kind of arrangement. For the sake of public opinion and transparency, are you in agreement with that?
I believe so. It doesn't take anything away. It only enhances the process, making it transparent and giving opportunity to every Ghanaian to see what is happening. And then we can form our own opinions of the process therein.
My final bit to you, on the back of this, some have suggested manipulation, so let there be a mistrial, there should be an injunction on the process and all of that. But there are those who, on the back of this, you said that the judge will not be affected, but the AG has been affected in a way. His image, there have been calls. A former director of the Ghana School of Law has said, resign for the sake of your credibility. Professor Apia J. lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School, has said, resign. Some others have also said same, including Bobby Banton, a lawyer. Are you going to join them and say, the way it looks, the AG should resign, or should he stay at post?
You know, that's a novelty in Ghana. People will make those calls and they will not be heeded. And so it is for the Attorney General to introspect and then come to a decision. I do not see that happening. We will make those calls. It will be good if people step aside and allow the process to happen. But then, in the space we find ourselves, we haven't seen that happen too often. It's a novelty. People who understand the law have said this because of the ethical issue. Unfortunately, we haven't heard the Attorney General himself come up. So perhaps this is a time for him to speak out on the where we all understand what it is and why.
I see. So from your standpoint, should he or should he not? You are saying that you don't expect him to, but looking at what has happened, would you have expected him to resign by now?
It depends. I would. If it were me, you should be asking if it were you, what would you do? If it were me, perhaps maybe I won't even let somebody say I should. But then these are different.
So if it were you, you would have resigned. If it were you, you would have resigned by now.
If it were me, and the issues, and if I think they are true and believable, perhaps we should, that's why I'm saying we should listen to him. But if it were me, and perhaps if it were you, then we would take a decision and heed to the calls people are making.
Marietta, we're so grateful that you took the time to join us this morning. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you.
And that is Mary Awelana Ada, Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. This has been our conversation on that belt when it comes to the AG, the former Deputy Minister of Finance, and everything else that has happened in between. But still to come, the Teacher Licensure Examination was introduced some 5 years ago to help redefine the teaching profession and set it apart for better standards and professionalism, just as you have in other quarters, marketing, dentistry, medicine, and the rest. But the implementation has had a checkered, past. While many believe the licensing regime holds a great future for improving standards, professionalism, and is opening up the world to teachers in Ghana, others believe the licensing regime is too cumbersome, burdensome for teachers, and should be cancelled. But we ask this morning, should the Teacher Licensure Exams be cancelled? Today's Hotline documentary titled License to Teach has some answers. Enjoy.
Throughout the annals of history, the noble craft of teaching has stood as a beacon of enlightenment, shaping the minds and hearts of countless individuals across the globe. Teaching ranks among the oldest and most revered professions known to humanity. In times past, the path to becoming a teacher differed remarkably from modern standards. Licensure was but a distant notion, and one's qualifications were not measured by official documentation, but by the innate ability to impart knowledge.
Alright, so we can still simplify it, right? 3 goes here 1, it goes here 1, how many times? 1.
The essence of teaching transcended mere technique. It was regarded as an art form demanding a blend of professionalism, skill, and innate passion to inspire and educate young minds. Like the physicians or attorneys, teachers are required to procure a license so that the consumer may somehow be assured of the quality of the product being provided.
The teacher licensure, it's one key component that has come to stay, and I believe it has come to enhance the teaching profession. Apparently, it has given a new dimension to the face of teaching in Ghana, making a Ghanaian teacher available and competitive for the global market. So professionally, the teaching license, I would say it's a very prudent tool that has come to complement the efforts of Ghanaian teachers and also giving us a very recognizable status in the global community.
Francis Donko is a teacher here. He feels the teacher license has added enormous value to him and classed him as a professional.
It has added a lot. Professionally, whatever we will go through in the colleges, actually, and realities on the field, actually, it's, I would say, not very in line. But the teacher licensing as a professional status, one, as I stand here, has given me a facelift, as I said earlier. Apparently, I've been able to secure a qualified teacher status in the UK. Where professionally now, if today I want to move to the global market to go teach in the UK, I have the UK standard due to the teacher license I had in Ghana, projecting me to the global market in the teaching space.
Mr. Donko is of the firm belief that anything that's new faces some challenges, and with time, such challenges would be surmounted.
Stakeholders in terms of COS and other agencies might have understood the concept because they sat with their bodies and then they planned everything. But the teacher in the classroom actually at a point was missing out. So apparently it became a challenge, right? Understanding and appreciating and accepting the entire concept. But within the process, as time goes on, I believe we've come to accept it as it is. We've come to accept the fact that it has come to stay and it's part of us, building our capacity, engaging us in our PLCs, building our PDs and all the likes. So professionally, it's given us a community where we exchange ideas.
Francis's colleague teacher, Faith Akujakbasu, who is now the 2023 Ghana's most outstanding teacher, is not lost out in the new teaching licensing euphoria. She believes that the trust the public has for the teacher has increased, and by virtue of standardization, many parents now feel their children are in secured and capable hands.
The license helps me gain the trust of the people around the country and across the globe. It makes them believe that I'm competent enough to educate learners because I am a licensed teacher. In my municipal, we always meet as teachers to share innovative and effective ways of teaching. It helps us share ideas among ourselves, our best practices. It helps us look at the needs of the teacher and the learner and how to address it in the professional learning community. And I think a lot of knowledge is gained during those interactions. So the professional learning community helps teachers to come out with their problems, especially with difficult topics, and how we could use effective and innovative instructional practices to solve them.
The Education Act 2008, Act 778, makes provision for the implementation of the teacher licensure in Ghana. According to Act 778, the National Teaching Council is to register teachers after they have satisfied the appropriate conditions for initial licensing and issue the appropriate license. In 2018, government enacted a new Education Act, and within the Act, 3 new regulatory authorities were created. the National Teaching Council, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, and the National Inspectorate Authority. The implementation of the Act faced a lot of opposition amidst protests from teachers. But in 2020, a new Education Act was passed that reinforced the need for the licensure exam. Dr. Christian Adaipoku is the registrar of the National Teaching Council. Dr. Adaipoku has identified why many of the teachers who were classroom-bound failed in the licensure exams.
The exam started in 2018, but every year we write 2 sets of the exam. So we have the main examination and then we have a recit. That's why we have been writing it. And for those who have had a chance to be part of the examiners, I'm sure if you get a chance to interview some of them, they will tell you their stories. Everybody has come to realize that we're doing Ghanaian children a lot of harm, allowing everybody to enter the classroom, because the evidence from the examinations have shown that a lot of people really didn't fit to be in the classroom, but we were just pushing them in. And so it's been good. Fortunately, we had a University of Education, Winneba, did a study on the licensure examination. They disseminated it, I think, early this year. And it showed clearly that there is massive support for the licensure examination, even among candidates who have not been successful. Those who have written the examination and have not been successful, more than 50% of them think that the licensure examination is necessary.
Dr. Christian Adaipoku is the registrar of the National Teaching Council.
I must confess, but the point is, of course, even when we were at the colleges of education or the training colleges by then, we had people who struggled a lot to be able to make it through. I think the sieving process has not been that rigorous to some extent, especially in the traditional universities. The colleges of education, this data has shown that tend to do very well. We've had a pass rate of around 80% averagely in the various examinations that we've conducted. But the universities, especially with the sandwich and distance programs, have not been performing at all. And that's a worry. They've been hovering around 45% pass, and that's a worry. And so I think they need to really look at the sandwich and distance programs very well, because that is where the real bane is, where the failure rate is so high. That is not to say that in the colleges you are not getting people who are failing. Some are failing, but majority of them pass the exam.
The National Teaching Council is mandated by the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020, Act 1023, to regulate the teaching profession in Ghana. As part of the Council's regulatory functions, it is mandated to conduct examination for licensing of people who desire to teach. The purpose of the licensing examination is to enable qualified teachers acquire a professional license and prepare teachers to meet the demands of the national teacher standards of possessing the minimum knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes necessary to deliver effectively in the schools. 5 years after the introduction of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination, the Council is embarking on reform to introduce subject-based Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination this year. This is in response to the need to test both the content and the professional knowledge of the prospective teachers. Since the inception of the Teacher Licensure Exams, every year, the media is replete with the percentages of teachers who sat the exams and failed. Many did not understand why the failure rate was that massive, but in 2023, the public was surprised with the answers to why the teachers who sit the exams fail. Millions of eyes were served with some of the scripts. A Professor of Education and Pro-Vice Chancellor of the Akintina Piaminka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development, Professor Isaac Boateng, believes the licensure exams has proven to be an effective mechanism and has gravely enhanced the image of the teaching profession.
Not long ago, there was licensure exams that the results was like through so much discussion in the airwaves in the country, because many of them failed the exams. I mean, if you take the candidate who sat the exams, and these candidates were people who have failed the license test from the beginning, from the inception till date, and NTC want to change the way they examine the teachers. So they gave all the failed candidates the last chance, or last but one chance, to write the exams. And if you look at the total number of candidates and the pass rate, it was so astonishing. And this tells us that had it not been the license introduced, all those failures would have entered into classroom, and they are going to teach something probably they don't know, or they are going to practice something they don't have the skills and attitude for. So the importance of the license is that it's able to take away people who are, I wouldn't say they are bad, but who do not have the vocation and the call to be teachers out. Sometimes because we have a lot of unemployment in the country, people might say, oh, when you go to teaching or you go to nursing, you can find a job. So some people by their nature are not teachers. And no matter the training we give them, they cannot be good teachers as well.
But a number of variables definitely might have contributed to the current regime. One is that the colleges are no longer under one institution. What it means is that different forms of processes in terms of curriculum, in terms of assessment, in terms of beliefs and practices, they have changed. We have also other institutions coming in, such as private institutions, distance education systems, and so on and so forth. So when you have various sources of institutions or various sources of teachers coming into the system, then you need to find a way of making sure that you have a uniform way of ascertaining quality in terms of the products that are coming into the teaching profession, because you no longer can use the same model as it used to be to give the numbers or teachers' numbers. So that is why the NTC resorted to making sure that for new entrants, you undertake some exams, which is professional exams in that regard.
The director of the Institute of Education at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Eric Anane, points to the issue of multiplicity of training institutions as one of the factors that account for the products that sit for the exams and fail.
How can we sort of check the entry into the teacher training institutions? But there was a study I conducted, and I found out that your entry aggregate explains about 21% of your performance at the end in the teacher training institutions. And if you look at it critically, those who came in with good aggregates, that's from where they achieve it on their own. I'm saying that in the regime where there is a lot of more practice, people can get good aggregate, but they may not perform. And probably that is why it is 21%. So if you achieve good aggregates on your own from secondary school and you come to teacher training institution, there's that likelihood that you will do well. You'll be able to achieve most of the competencies and skills and then the attributes and the knowledge required of you in the system. And if you look at the licensing examination, there is also analysis done. Those who have passed well, they have a higher probability of passing the National Teacher Licensure Examination, which means that they have the attributes required. So what it means is that if you are able to strengthen the entry requirements and then make sure that we take people who really have passed and passed well into teacher training. And then in the system, we are able to focus on achieving the standards through the courses and the programs we set out for the students. Then the better. It will get to a point where, if not all, majority of the candidates who come out of the institutions will be able to pass the examination. I think that's what we are all looking for.
Is it correct? Do you follow? All right.
Good teaching, it is said, guarantees good educational success for quality education and student development. The teacher and the teaching have long been the critical and most considered indicators by policymakers, parents, and the entire society as to where and who should provide tuition and transfer of knowledge to children. The Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa, believes tightening the loose ends at the entry level would help a great deal to getting quality in the classrooms.
What I would say is that the issue, when people say that teachers wrote and the kind of feedback of what we saw on the papers, what I see is that these are individuals who have been trained in our schools to come and teach. Before they come into our classrooms, they need to go through that licensure. And the licensure exam that they are writing, at that point, I do not think that they are employees yet. It is after they have passed that they become our employees. That is when we would say that these are bona fide teachers of GS. And I think it's important that I clarify this. And all those who are writing the exam are not people or students from our training colleges, as in the colleges of education. We have those who have also sat for private diplomas, those who have also come from our distance learning programs on the universities. All of them come together. And it's gratifying, at least for those of us in education administration, that we use that as more or less a gatekeeper to ensuring that we get the best quality teachers coming into our fold. It would have been my wish that almost every trained teacher goes through this and pass at once. You heard me talk about gatekeeping. I want to believe that the gatekeeping at the very outset of your education in, let's say, basic education, in a degree or diploma, whichever one that you took, I would have thought that we would begin to sieve them at the entry level so that those who really want to teach should apply themselves well maybe at the entry level, so that we are able to get the good quality ones in there. And by the time they finish, we wouldn't see the kind of scripts that you are referring to. So one of the things that I believe could be done is doing this at a very entry level, so that you would not even waste time. I don't know, for want of a better word, to say that to stay through the process for about 3 years and at the end of it produce the kind of script that you are referring to. So maybe one of the things we can do is to ensuring at the entry level we get some kind of entrance exam even before you get into your studies at either the colleges of education or any university at any level.
The new wind that is blowing in the teaching profession appears to be bringing some confidence in the profession. Many educationists have thrown their support behind the Teacher Licensure Exams. Betty Jokoto is an educationist and former headmistress of Wesley Girls Senior High School.
You will have to meet the standards. I don't know whichever means they use to get there. You see, you know our institutions, and there are several institutions churning out teachers. So now, prove yourself. Prove yourself and let's see. And it's the minimum. So I can't get it. It's the minimum. If you are worth your salt, you should be able to do it. I did see, and if I should tell you some of the content, I am so happy because I tell you, having been in the educational space for a while, about 80% is the teacher, if not more. I'm telling you, it's sad that maybe the recognition has not come yet. But you see, the teacher for me in this educational enterprise is everything. If you get a well-motivated, skilled teacher, the child can succeed. But gradually, the image of the teacher will be enhanced, and that helps with the intrinsic motivation of the teacher to deliver what he has to deliver. But eventually, it's like the public will know, okay, that if you're a licensed teacher, you have satisfied certain standards, and that eventually will make us also feel proud to say, do you think you're a teacher? have you satisfied what Ghana demands of teachers? So I think in a way you're right. Very soon we'll be very protective, of our profession.
Teacher unions in the country say, in principle, they are not against standardization and professionalizing the teaching profession, but they have some challenges with the current system. Reverend Isaac Owusu is the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers.
As a union, we are not against any teacher professionalism because we feel that as a profession, we need to run shoulders with other equally important professions that exist not only in Ghana but across the globe. So if there is a policy that is going to regulate teacher professionalism, we are not against it. But when we realize that there are challenges confronting the policy, that one as a union, we must come out to let the policy formulators know that, yes, you brought this policy, but the challenges that have come as a result of the implementation, we need to meet and then make sure that we iron out those differences. We are ever ready for any policy that will regulate the teacher professionalism, and it adds value to the teaching profession. And we believe that with the introduction of the teacher license policy, even though we've experienced some negativity during the implementation, but in all, we cannot rubbish it off that it is a very bad policy, that we should throw it away, because once we are a professional body, we need to be regulated. But the means in which this regulation is being implemented is where the challenges are coming from.
His counterpart at the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabonu, says the licensure exams is extremely helpful and bodes well for the teaching profession.
Well, I think the licensure is important. It makes us intensify the principle of professionalism, that anyone that don't just get up and say, I am a teacher. And as you know already, before you are licensed, you have to go through some licensure exam. And then also, whilst you are teaching for a period, the law indicates 2 years, then you will also have to renew your license. So if you have done anything untoward whilst you are teaching, and we all know the infractions that some teachers engage themselves in, then your license itself can be withheld. You can also lose your license. So all these things become indicators that as a professional teacher, you are expected to behave and perform in a particular manner. And if you are able to exonerate yourself creditably, your license is renewed. So it is something that I think we have to treasure and hold dear to ourselves. I have a lot of my members who have moved to London, England. Some of them have even got into the rural areas of England and they are teaching. And but again, despite the fact that, of course, everybody knows that the pay will be better than ours, the terrain there is also having a lot of challenges. You know, you don't have the same discipline in schools there that you have here, where you cannot even scold reprimand a child in a particular manner. Other than that, you are violating. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions. The environment is totally a different environment. So there are positives and there are negatives.
The NAGRAT president says with the many positives that have been recorded as a result of the licensing of teachers, he is not encouraged that many teachers are leaving the shores of Ghana in their droves and want something to be done to retain such quality minds and hearts in Ghana to impart and impact the Ghanaian society.
I am not encouraging the movement of teachers from our country, because you see, when the cream of our teachers leave, what happens to our children? So we expect our government to also improve the service, make the service attractive, make the service the #1 choice of the graduates, you know, for very good teachers to remain in our country so that they can teach our children. And that there is no alternative to that. Our government should improve the conditions of teachers for our teachers to remain in our country to contribute to the education of our children. Because they have made it one condition out there that the teacher should be a licensed teacher, so that the person they can be sure that the person is a professional. And the interesting thing is that Ghana, especially, when you are a nurse or a teacher, you don't need to even go and write any other exam for them to take, but they trust our training institutions. But it is hurting us. You know, those days when we were in school, you saw they'll say, hey, there is this maths teacher in this school. And every student in the country is heard about that mathematics teacher. Then they'll say, when you go to this other school, there's this government teacher. So these are cream products. You know, valuable products that we don't have to allow to go. And I'm afraid. And the reason why somebody will leave this beautiful country and go into a cold, sometimes -1, is just because of salary. You know, for some of us, apart from the conditions, there is no way we will opt to live in Europe or America other than this beautiful country where the sunshine is there 24 hours. But the conditions of service, we plead with government that government should look at the conditions of service of Ghanaian workers, especially teachers and nurses, for them to remain in this country.
Well, there you have it. The Ghana Teacher Licensure Exam has come under some review. This system that has been put in place to ensure that teachers are qualified by verifying their knowledge, skills, and values against a national standard, so to speak, before they grant them a license to teach. Some are calling for it to be cancelled. Others are saying it is good because it weeds out non-competent, non-performing teachers. But let's get into the conversation. Benjamin Akakwo is here, of course, and we'll also be joined on phone by Dr. Peter Antipate. He's the Executive Director of the Institute for Educational Studies, and Larry K. Agbado, who is editor at Teacher Educational Journal. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Please unmute if you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you and good morning.
Great,
good morning,
Larry. Right, so let's start the conversation with this simple question. Do you think that the failure we're experiencing, I mean, the data that has been published, about 9,000 teachers who sat the exam have failed, and that's nearly half the total percentage of people who sat the exams. Is this really weeding out non-competent, non-performing teachers in the the educational industry? Is that what we're experiencing right now? Let me start with you, Dr. Peter Anti.
Thank you very much. I think that first of all, we have to understand that any form of examination is influenced by several factors. So my approach to exams is that the fact that someone sits for an exams does not mean that the person is incompetent in the area that he or she is being assessed. And that will explain the kind of performance that has been exhibited by people who intend to enter the teaching profession. However, we need to find ways and means to ensure that the teacher is fit for purpose. And as the speakers in the documentary indicated, you do not have a standard curriculum that runs the training of the teachers in the various schools. You have also set out a body that is mandated to license the teacher. And I think that in this conversation, we need to understand that the licensure regime is a whole process. And the first step to being licensed is sitting for the exams or being assessed in one way or the other. So what the NTC is doing technically is that we have standards that the teacher is supposed to exhibit in this country. And these are enshrined in the National Teacher Standards. Now, you have gone through various teacher education programs, and we are mandated to license you. In our laws, we have the mandate to examine you before we license you, and we are licensing you based on the competencies that you are supposed to possess in respect of the teaching standards. So you might be a good student, okay, but you might not have adequately imbibed the standards that have been set, and that will enable you to obtain the minimum qualification for the NTC to license you. So you sit for the exams and you are not able to be successful. You are given additional opportunities several times to be able to pass the exams, and then you are licensed by the NTC. So I wouldn't say that those who sit for the exams, in fact, all those who sit for the exams are not fit for purpose. There are different factors that might lead to them not passing, but the fact still remains that they need to meet that standard that is being set by the regulatory body in order that the regulatory body can enable them to enter the teaching profession.
These standards and competencies you speak about, I believe they're general, right? So why are they not in the curriculum for these teacher institutions like UW and the rest? Most of the teachers who sit for the exams are products of educational institutions, teacher training institutions. Yeah. So are these standards, these competencies not in the curriculum? Why should there be a separate test for these competencies after you've gone through an educational system?
So you go through the training and you are supposed to be taught these things. Again, they are not general as in general. You have to have the professional competency to be able to deliver the content. And as somebody who trains teachers, I understand the kind of skills and competencies that the teacher needs to acquire. Now, how would the NTC be rest assured that the products that are coming from the various training institutions have really imbibed these competencies? They might be in the curriculum. They might have been taught by their various lecturers, like myself. When I'm training my economics teachers, I teach them these things. But after teaching them, I need to give them to NTC for NTC to be rest assured as a regulatory body to know that yes, these teachers have really been taught these standards and they have imbibed them, and as such, they will be able to deliver the content when we allow them to enter the classroom. And if you are not able to pass, you are given several other opportunities to do so.
All right. Let me, I'll come back to you, but let me bring in Larry K. Agbado. Mr. Agbado, which way do you lean? Do you think that this licensure exam should be cancelled, or does it just need some review?
That's quite a direct one you have thrown at me. First of all, let me commend your team for the great work done with this piece, like the documentary. I think it tells a very vivid story of what this whole licensure regime is about, devoid of politics. And just as the speakers in the documentary said, you see, this is a professional body. The teaching profession, as I heard one of the speakers call it, is a vocation. And most professions are licensed. So if we've come to that level, we've come to that stage where teachers are now being licensed, I think it's a call that we should gladly welcome. We are seeing the benefits that it's bringing, not just to our system here. We have We have our teachers who are now able to cross the borders of Ghana, majority in the UK, freely teaching or going through the process with ease, just because they have been able to acquire licenses here in Ghana. So for me, it shouldn't be a question or a conversation of whether we should cancel the licensure or it should be maintained. I think I heard the Registrar of the National Teaching Council in his presentation saying that at every point in time, there's a change that comes, and sometimes it's very difficult for us to always adapt to some changes. So I just feel that that is the phase we are in. The best we can do is to consolidate the gains we have made with this whole licensure regime. I've heard speakers in the documentary talk about we taking keen look at the entry level. You heard the GS Director General talking about the fact that why not put in a gatekeeping measure at the entry level than wait for someone to go through the process for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And after that process, the person is not able to acquire the necessary qualification to go out there to teach. So I think those are the things that we should be talking about. I am expecting to see that the manifestos of the various political parties, they're able to come out with ideas like this, that, okay, when we come into power or when you give us the nod, we will consolidate the gains that we've made with the licensure regime by introducing a policy of entry exams for students who want to be trained to become teachers, than getting ourselves involved in a discussion of whether to cancel or not to cancel it. Okay. What we are doing is rather to boost teacher confidence. What we are doing is rather to set the standards high. And I think we should have conversations around consolidating that and not...
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Dr. Pitanti. Dr. Pitanti, you'd agree with me that there are a number of issues that are plaguing our educational system. You yourself have said that each year your outfit provides the Ministry of Education with statistics of schools in dire need of infrastructure development, yet nothing is seen to be done. Is it a question, and also one of the resource persons who spoke in the documentary mentioned that about 80% of the successes or failure of students is dependent on the teacher. First of all, do you agree with that? And secondly, should we focus more on fixing the issues in our educational system before we look to a higher regulatory system?
All right, thank you. I agree with, I think it's Madam Jokoto who said that. Yeah. I agree perfectly with her. The whole education system hinges on the teacher. And that is why some of us, we get disappointed the way teachers are being treated in this country. When the teacher has got a sound mind, when the teacher has got the requisite skills and competencies, and the teacher is well motivated, the education system is in good hands because the teacher leads the process of delivering quality education. And in this time, especially when we are talking about the teachers being facilitators, you cannot give what you don't have. Okay, so at each point in the education of the child, the quality of the teacher is very important. And that is why we should not downplay this discussion at all. We should not find ways and means to get anybody at all to enter the teaching profession as it used to be. Now, in the education, we call it an education system. System means that there are various parts that comes together to play a certain role. And you cannot touch one part and leave the other part. So in dealing with the problems in the education sector, one of the things that we need to pay attention to is the teacher quality. Once we fixing the teacher quality, we should continue to find ways to provide the resources for the schools. We should strengthen the supervision and monitoring system of our schools. We should continue to provide the students a conducive environment where teaching and learning will take place. So I would not suggest this or say that we should focus on addressing the infrastructural challenges in our schools, and then when we deal with that, we come and look at the teacher. By the time we finish, a whole generation of students might have gone through the hands of teachers that are not well trained to deliver education to our children. And that is why in dealing with educational issues, you don't pick them one after the other. You touch them simultaneously at the same time, so that as you improve on the curricula, you are also improving on the teacher quality, you are improving on the providing infrastructure for the schools and the education system. And at the same time, you're also motivating the teacher and giving the teacher the requisite remuneration that would make him feel good in delivering the mandate that is being given.
All right.
Well, hold for me, gentlemen. Let me also bring into the conversation this morning Rose Blankson. She is a former head teacher and now assistant registrar, University of Cape Coast. Rose, good morning. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. Good morning to the cherished listeners.
I will start off the top with you. What for you is the relevance of this teacher licensure exam? And looking at the number of failures year in and out, it's been about 5 years. Has it fulfilled its purpose?
It's quite a tricky one. Personally, I have issues with the licensure.
You do?
I do.
Why?
I was fortunate to have been trained by the Our Lady of Apostles teachers, sisters, that's Ola Training College in Cape Coast.
Oh, okay.
Between 1995 and 1998, I was a student of that training college. And if the curriculum prescribed by the then Ghana Education Service, which was used in training us in the training colleges, after which I got trained by the University of Cape Coast, and then got trained again by the University of Cape Coast, still to stay in the classroom to be a teacher, then I really, really don't see the need for this licensure. Because the training we are given in the training colleges exposes us, gets us ready, adequately prepared to be teachers. In the training colleges, where now we call them colleges of education, where they are now doing degree programs. At our time, it was certificate A, then it came to diploma, and now it's degree. We do curriculum studies. We do psychology, history of education, and the core programs that we go out to teach, such as mathematics, science, agricultural science, literature, English, French, and all the other subjects. So, to me, the teacher having gone through training college or college of education has been prepared adequately enough to go out there and teach. Then with time, we need to give them in-service training, on-the-job training, enhancement trainings, and all that. Because sincerely, I feel this licensure, for want of a better expression, a lazy man's approach at kicking some individuals out of the classroom when we, as a nation, have failed to provide the requisite material, the requisite infrastructure, the requisite support that the teacher needs, that the child needs to he or she is being taught. For me, this licensure, it appears we are now as Ghanaians just carrying things wholesale from wherever. Whatever we read, we go out there, we pick things, and then instead of analyzing, assessing the methodologies out there, comparing them to our situation and situating them appropriately, we just go and pick things and bring them here. Yes, in the UK, before you become a teacher, even in the nursery school, there is a licensure exam that you have to write. You must have a certain prerequisite qualification to qualify you to teach in the UK or in the United States. But if they are training to become a teacher the same as ours, do they go through training colleges, sit in classrooms, to be trained like we do here? No, that is not it. They don't have training colleges. People will go to college, do other programs. Someone may even go read medicine and along the line say, well, I feel I have a calling for teaching. The person didn't go through training college. The person didn't go through the universities that are there to teach people to come and come out to become teachers. So for that reason, you need to go through a certain program. And after going through that program, you get license to teach. But in our case, we have strictly laid out plan, system, where people are trained. So before you come out to be a teacher in Ghana, I mean, even in the 2000s, if you go to Legon, University of Ghana, Legon, for example, and you come out as a first degree holder, you don't qualify as a teacher. Right. Before you can become a teacher as a product of University of Ghana, Legon, or Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, or Tapa University of Mines and Energy, you need to come to University of Cape Coast or University of Education, Winneba, to do a postgraduate diploma in education for 2 years to qualify you as a teacher. Why was that the case? Because at that point, you will be taught the things you need to qualify you to be in a classroom.
I see.
So personally, I see no need. And even the questions, I didn't write the licensure. Maybe fortunately or unfortunately, at the time this licensure brouhaha started, I was a head teacher. I had left the classroom and I was heading a school. So I didn't really see the need to go and write any licensure. But I had the opportunity to see some of the questions. And I honestly don't think after going through training colleges, we need this, to make a teacher who he or she is.
Rose, so a quick one. I'll put your thoughts to our other two guests to reflect. But coming back to you, Rose, I just want your thoughts on this. So you feel that on the basis of the questions you've seen, you don't feel they are apt, and so once you go through training college, these should be good enough for you. You, for example, didn't go through that process. I don't know how it would feel if today you had been told you had to take the teacher licensure exams. But don't you think that with the passage of time, these licensure exams are fit for purpose currently? Because what applied then is not what necessarily has applied before the coming into, working of the licensure exams. Don't you think it has some usefulness? For example, some other parts of the world, the UK and others, are taking our teachers, and that's maybe a negative, easily now because they have the teacher licensure exam to fall on. What do you think?
So could it be that it's an intentional activity to get our teachers travel out? And
I wouldn't say so.
We are doing like our nurses go out there because they do licensures. They have, after qualifying from the nursing training college, they have to write for their licenses. Our medical doctors do same. So is it, how we call it, now there is something about exploitation of human resource. I've forgotten the term they give. Personally, if the things we are doing in the training college, and I'm being in UCC, I'm privy to the training we are giving to teachers before they come out as teachers. And our teachers from training colleges, sorry I keep using training college, forgive me because I went through training college.
Yes, I guess it's
from colleges of education.
Colleges of education, right.
Yes. Our teachers trained by the colleges of education, trained by the universities, so accredited to train teachers, come out. To me, I feel they are qualified enough. And unless I mean, someone who wants to travel outside. If someone wants to travel outside, then the license becomes useful and makes it easier. And even that, when they go to the UK, they go to the US, they still write their required license exams. It's not a done deal. Yes, it makes it easy for them to migrate. But at the end of it, I personally feel that this licensure should be targeted at individuals who don't go through the formal teacher training education, be it in the universities, like University of Education, Univa, our premier university. I mean, I call it premier first in Ghana, best in Ghana, UCC, and then the various colleges of education in Ghana. If people did not have that opportunity, and we have individuals who never had the opportunity to go through these training, through these colleges of education, through these universities. SHS graduates who are okay and are teaching in some mostly private schools could be given some sort of training, some sort of, some training, and then at the end of the day, they write that licensure exam. Because I told someone who has come out of training college already has the license to teach. I remember when I qualified for the training college and came out first, my community, Obakroa, MA, at that time it was a district council, so DC primary school. And then the children would be misbehaving, and I'll tell them, look, I have been given license to discipline, so I have my license. You get it? We saw our certificate as licenses.
Right. All right, Madam Rose, so I can appreciate your assertions about how if you come out from the training colleges of education, then you're already qualified. But let's look at something about this licensure exam, which is subject to renewal every 3 years. And if you're a teacher and your students keep failing WASSCE and BECE, your license will not be renewed until you sit for the exam again. That bit, or for example, I went to University of Education whenever my first degree is in English language education. So I have, some sort of foundation for that. But if I decided to go and teach today, I don't think that just walking into the classroom and teaching what I know reading from books is enough. So my question to you is, this renewal, don't you think that it actually helps to ensure that teachers are constantly kept on their toes? And if your students are not performing well in the BECE and WASSCEs, then it's time for you to reassess your strategies and knowledge base?
I don't think so.
Why is that?
I think that it is we as a state, institutions responsible for getting the teacher to give of their best, for getting the students, the learners to give of their best, approaching our responsibility in a lazy manner.
How do we streamline and ensure that that is
done? Finish.
All right.
Hold on, let me finish. If a student fails BECE or SHSE, WASSCE, West African Senior Certificate Examination, if a student fails, from your question, it appears we want to put it squarely at the doorstep of the teacher. We want
not
to blame
entirely.
it wholly on the teacher. By withholding a teacher's certificate, that license, as if a teacher doesn't have a successful result in succession for 3 years, the teacher will have to resit. For me, we are punishing the teacher needlessly. Before I joined the conversation, I heard someone talking about infrastructure and all of that. What have we put in? Have we started to ask ourselves, why is it that children in private schools, even private schools where most of our teachers there are not trained, and I'm talking about the basic level, the children go and write BECE and they excel. But in our public schools, our children write exams and they don't do they don't do well the way we expect them to do. Have we thought about it?
All right.
Do you know that children from JHS, public JHS, when they get to senior high school, they perform better than their counterparts from public schools.
All right, Mary.
The public school teachers, they teach for life. But and it's because they have the skill, they have the knowledge, they have the qualification. I'm surprised you are saying you went to Winneba, you did English education, and you can't just go into the classroom and teach. It's a surprise.
No. I'm not. It's not me and my competence in question here. It's about what's good for the students. So if I can just walk in and teach, I do not understand what's new now because I've been out of the classroom for years. I need to sit an exam to read, catch up with what's happening, and understand the new strategies, the pedagogy that wins. That wins results.
Exactly. But the licensure, do you take them through any special training, any pedagogy, or anything? Are you taking the teachers through? The teachers prepare on their own. They go on the net, get materials, look at past questions.
Isn't that the same with every other licensing examination or system? Like the nurses, after you pass out, so please hold for me, after you pass out from the actual training as a nurse, when you go and write or you sit for the licensure exams, you don't need any extra preparation except you do that for yourself. So why is that different for the teacher?
Why do you have to do your own preparation? If what you are saying, it is to improve. There are new pedagogy. There are new ways of doing things. Then we need to prepare the teacher. If it is happening with the nurses, it doesn't make it correct. It doesn't make it right. The fact that other people are doing it and it is wrong doesn't make it right.
All right, hold for us, Rose. Let's also bring into the conversation David Ofori-Achampong. He is former General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. David, good morning.
Good morning.
It's quite an interesting conversation we're having because no matter when or what you say, whenever this conversation comes up, there is always that dichotomy of, do we even need this? What is its relevance? Versus, it is relevant. Let's go ahead. Where do you sit? What's your position on this matter? Let's start from there before we even get into its usefulness per se.
Thank you. Now let's take it from this angle. Now when you go to college, you go to acquire skills in a certain profession, a certain subject area that enables you to go and teach. So until the advent of these licensure exams, the colleges will take you through. For example, like your colleague said, you did English. I'm sure she did methodology in English, teaching in English, and all this kind of stuff. So that will send you straight to the classroom to go and teach. But somewhere, I've forgotten the exact year, they said UNESCO came out with an idea of us setting up professional standards for teachers. So that we call it teacher professionalization, teacher licensing, which then says that, look, no matter what kind of qualification you have, skills that you have in teaching, if you want to enter into this profession, you need to be licensed. That was why all the processes went through, and we got the National Teaching Council coming in with relevant laws from Parliament backing it. They be given the authority to license teaching. So it is not an issue of, for example, we think that you after those years you can't teach, because in those days when there was no licensure, our teachers were teaching us. There was no problem. The issue now is that you need to get a license to be employed by status. You need to get a license from the MCC so that you can be employed as a teacher. Now, when you are employed as a teacher, all that we used to go to
David, please reposition. Yes, please reposition slightly and speak up for me. We're losing you a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Better. Please go ahead.
Good. So when you start teaching and you go through all the rudiments of teaching, the employer is supposed to give you some education, refresher courses, because then and there are new ways of doing new things. There are new ways of doing old things. So that was the responsibility of the youth.
And the employer here is the Ghana Education Service.
Yes. To
Okay.
take you through refresher courses So that if there are new methodology in teaching a particular topic in mathematics, the teachers will then take it so that they can go and dispense that kind of knowledge to the students. That is a completely different matter. This one says that, yes, you have all the skills to teach, but before you are permitted to teach in our country, you need to get a license, as it happens everywhere in the world. And this license is renewable every 3 years. And if you recollect, because of this issue, we came up with the 10 minutes of education. Napo, you have a conversation that, look, then why don't you help the teachers to go through the acquisition and renewal of their licenses by paying them some allowances? And that is what is called the continuous professional development allowance. That money is given to the teacher so that at least when the courses which have been prescribed by the National Teaching Council are being done, which is tailored to improve your teaching skills, you can just use part of the money to go and do it. So for me, as an individual and as somebody who was involved in it, I don't see any problem at all with that. Because we had all the time at that time be saying that, look, not all those people are teachers. Okay. And there were so many stories in the newspapers, teacher defiles this, you go through the whole thing, and the person is not even gone to a college of education before. Is that the person is teaching the school, so it's transferred as a teacher. So those were the things that came into mind that we pushed and said that let's get in that situation. And then it puts you on the stronger stance when it comes to even negotiation. Because you are then classified as a professional group.
Right. I mean, and she made the point. Rose made the point, for example, for those. You see, this is a double-edged sword. Because while some may say it is giving them some certification and giving them a basis to do what they do, we also know that on the back of that, you know, the droves of teachers that have left the shores of Ghana, maybe more now because of this certification. So it's a blessing and some say a curse as well. But hold for me. Rose has mentioned as well that in her time, they didn't need to do this, but they had the quality. In this instance, they are getting certification from here, but when they travel to the Americas and the UKs and the rest, they still have to take exams there to get further certification. So you may get your foot in because of this, but it's not sealed, signed, and delivered. How do you respond to that?
So far as I'm concerned, that is not a fact.
It is not?
Because no, it's not a fact. In those days when we had not introduced the Teacher Licensure, anybody who left Ghana to, let's say, United Kingdom and wanted to engage in their education system, you had to take an exam to qualify. Fast forward, 10 years that it has accepted all those teachers just because don't go to that again. You don't do that again. So it's very cannot be true because that one is considered as to go through the process of licensing. But you need to make sure that you have a license before you can practice. So it is not true that you have to go and do any course there. No, you go there with an English certificate. You're going to teach English language. You support it with your teacher licensing a card or whatever. Then you're ready to go. You can ask anybody who has gone to UK over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and he will tell you that if I went as a teacher, I didn't need to go and do any other exam again. Because the licensing that is being done by NTC is recognized by the educational authorities in the UK.
I see. Interesting dynamics. I don't know. I think we should pick the reactions of Dr. Auntie and Larry on what is the banter that has gone on so far. I know that they lean more towards having the licensure exams, but I want some clarity. I'll start with you, Dr. Auntie. Are you also in the know that even after these licensure exams, when our teachers travel abroad, for example, in some countries, as specified by Rose, they may have to get further certification to guarantee their progress? And what do you make of the points she makes in terms of the licensure exam not exactly making any impact? What's your take, Dr. Auntie? And I'll pose that same question to Larry. Dr. Auntie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. I'm a little bit disappointed this morning because this is a profession that we are all in, and if it is good for the nurse, it is good for the lawyer, if it is good for the other professions, the engineer, why should we have a problem?
But Rose had a problem with that being applied to the nurses in the first place.
Yes, but that is what is being practiced since time immemorial. You go to the Midwifery Council's website, it is there. They write exams. They also go through 4 years of training or 3 years of training. They they go through the various curricula, various courses. But there is a body set up to ensure that the people entering the profession have the requisite standards that have been set for the profession. And that is what we do for all professions. Why should the teacher be different? That is the question I keep asking myself. Why should the teacher be different? The teacher who is at the center of the delivery of education, when he is held up to higher standards, then we have teachers coming back to fight against this system. Does that make sense to any of us? That the teacher who is at the center of the delivery of quality education, when that teacher is held up to higher standards, that teacher is supposed to go through certain processes to professionalize the profession. We, the teachers on the field, come back to fight this system. Why? Why would we do that? Let me answer your question. If you go to the UK, now you can just Google and check. UK, you have to get the QTS, the Qualified Teacher Status. There are various processes that you go through. I think that she has to, or anybody who thinks that is the case, should check the website of the UK Qualified Teacher Status processes. And it is clear there that if you have a license from a recognized institution and you are coming from a country that they have certain kinds of collaborations with, in terms of, for example, the NTC is part of the African teacher regulatory bodies. If you are part of such an organization, you are.
Hello, Dr. Auntie.
You just apply, and then you are doing your QTS. You just apply. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
You just apply, and you are giving your QTS. That's the same thing with even Australia, where most of the teaching models that we study in the schools were developed. Okay, so I think that we need to understand the process. Again, let's do a little education.
But Dr. Peter, sorry to interject. While you are doing the clarification and the education, I'd like you to paint or give us more clarity on the difference between a certification, which I think is just an examination you pass and then you can perform a particular task, and licensing, which is regulated by a board, a professional board, to ensure that whoever enters that profession is qualified, has the necessary skills and knowledge and values to perform that task in that profession. So in education, I'd like you to clarify whether this licensure examination is a license for a professional body or it's a certification just to teach.
Exactly. So if you come to the University of Cape Coast, we have those who do BCom. They are trained to be accountants. Okay. Now, when you finish and you want to belong to the professional body of accountants, you can't just say that I did BCom, I had first class, my GPA is 4.0, so I am now a professional accountant. No, you go and then you sit, you are exempted in certain papers, but you sit for exams, write certain papers, and then the profession inducts you into the profession. The professional body would induct you into the profession. That is the same thing that the teachers have now, that's the same thing that has been introduced for the teachers. So I did BEd Social Science, a course major. After doing my program, I am not licensed to teach. I am just a teacher trainee. Now, the laws now insist that before I can call myself a teacher, I need to sit for a professional exams. The essence of that professional exams is for that professional body to ascertain whether I have been able to imbibe the professional standards that they hold in high esteem for the profession in Ghana. And that is the first stage into you being called into the teaching profession. So you write the exams, you are given a provisional license, you are put under a mentor for 1 year. After that process, if you qualify, if you show signs and if you fit the other requirements that have been given to you, you build your portfolio, you are studied throughout this 1 year period. When the body is satisfied with what you have gone through, then the body comes back and give you a permanent license, which is renewal for 2 years. Within that 2 years, you are supposed to continuously update your knowledge so that you'll be able to deliver the content as it goes on. And those of us in education, we know that a lot of learning models and learning methods evolves. They come in every now and then. You cannot say you are a teacher and be opposed to a process that is laid down to professionalize the profession. I'm so disappointed this morning, seriously.
All right, I see Mr. Agbado nodding his head. You have a lot to say. You can come in now. What are your thoughts?
It's quite unfortunate the assertions that were made by Madam Rose.
So, gentlemen, let's do this. Let's not attack personalities, or you can espouse your thoughts without necessarily denigrating hers. These are her thoughts. She's been a teacher, been a head teacher, become an assisting registrar at the University of Cape Coast. These are her thoughts. So you may differ in opinion, but just couch it in that sense. So let's not personalize it. Please go ahead.
Appreciates the concerns that she has raised. But I feel that she's probably not abreast with the current system that we are operating. She's not abreast with the current system that we are operating. The curriculum that was used in training her at the time she attended College of Education, I'm not sure it's the same curriculum we are using today. When you go to all these training institutions that are training teachers, the universities and the colleges, they have this document called the National Teacher Standards. I have to search for this right now, the National Teacher Standards. Now, these standards contain 3 key areas: professional values and attitudes, professional knowledge, and professional practice. Now, in the course of training of teachers, be it in the college or in the university, trainees are taken through these documents, the content of it. They are taken through it. And basically, the license exams is conducted around this document. So you are tested to know whether this document that was developed to let you as a trainee or a teacher have knowledge on these 3 key areas. That is the professional values and attitudes, professional knowledge, and professional practice. At least you have much knowledge on this. So for Madam Rose to say that at her time, the curriculum that was used, the best was produced, and now let's accept that as we grow, reforms take place. She mentioned that the colleges are now doing degrees. At her time, I'm sure they were probably doing these certificate courses or even diploma, because the degree was just rolled out about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So it's completely different from how she's seeing it. I heard Abochi mentioned or talk about the fact that you studied English at the University of Education, Winneba. You are currently in the media space. So let's say today you want to go back to the classroom. So you can just go and then start teaching any class without any standard being measured as to whether you still have the requisite knowledge and skills to be able to teach or impact learners. No.
That brings me to a question, right? And my name is Abochi. I have to make that correction. So anyone at all who graduates with a degree can take this Ghana Teacher Licensure Exams, and if they pass, they can go ahead and teach. Is that what it is?
So not anyone, not just anyone at all.
You have to have a degree.
A degree in education. A degree in education. So someone who has gone to...
Right, not in any other field but education.
No, not in any other field but education. So if you have a degree in any other field and you want to sit for these exams, you probably have to go for a postgraduate degree in education. But if you don't have any degree or any qualification in education, you don't qualify to sit for these exams.
But you see this helps me appreciate Madam Rose's point that if you have a degree in education, it means you have the foundation, you have enough ample knowledge to be able to teach. Are you able to reconcile her point with what the clarification you just made?
Right. So if you have gone through training in the university, in education, and you have been tested on the National Teacher Standards, and upon completion, the regulatory body says that, okay, we want to test your knowledge on these standards to see how you have been able to get a good understanding of it, and you're not able to satisfy those requirements, it's just best that you probably go back, come back again to write it. When you pass it, then you go through.
Larry, let me ask you a question. I am of the opinion that all of you from different even rows have a point in this matter. Look, for example, at the law school system in Ghana. Take my alma mater, the University of Ghana Law School. You would have some people, and from the most prominent ones, excel, and maybe an exam of what? 2 hours plus with 2 questions now, as it is set, right? 2 essay type questions. You have 6 subject areas you're looking at. They could be picked from anywhere. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And if some students are not able to, and usually it turns out to be most of them, are not able to comprehensively give specific answers in that way, it is assumed that those students are not good enough. You could also have some students who may not know that much, but happened to have prepared in those areas. Would it make a difference? I'm just drawing your mind to the fact that previously, if you attended the University of Ghana School of Law, for example, once you were done and that institution, you passed, you went to the next stage. Now, you require this extra certification, which may not necessarily determine who is a better student or who is good at it. Isn't that exactly where we find ourselves with this licensure exams? Isn't it the same thing?
Not the same at all. Not the same. You see, with the exams, the responses that are expected from candidates is basically application. So what we have learned over the period, how are you going to apply it? So it's basically not the same. And then one other area that we should also appreciate is the fact that over the years, there have been several reforms, okay, to improve upon teaching standards in the country. And the best we can do is to appreciate where we have come from. I'm sure during Madam Rose's time, we had entrance exams or interview in place that before you are even admitted into the College of Education, it was then called teacher training colleges. You go through an interview process. The speakers who spoke in the documentary, you heard one of them, Professor Eric Anani, made mention of the fact that now you have students who come to the colleges with very good grades. And we've had these concerns on several discussions on your platform. They come to the colleges with very good grades, A1s and the B2s and the rest. But their first semester results, their second semester results, do not really match with what they came in with. So, and how do you address those concerns? In some cases, you find that this caliber of people, they go through the process. They still find their way to go through the process through the 3-year training or the 4 years training and still come out successfully. Now, we have a gatekeeping measure at the end that is able to see the best to go to the classrooms to teach. And we have a problem with that. If I fail the license exams, that doesn't mean that I am like that's the end of me and I can't teach again. No.
I get that. Quick. Okay, so Larry, I think your point is made. Let me throw that same bit just briefly from another angle to Dr. Anti, and then we'll move to the other guests as well. What then does that say? I keep going back to this point. If the licensure exams are so apt, and if so many thousands keep failing, where is the problem? Is the problem with the products coming from these colleges of education, which would then point to one part of the problem? Or is it the licensure exam, which in trying to practicalize maybe is not doing something right? Or is it with both, Dr. Anti?
Okay, so I think on the onset, I indicated that there are a lot of factors that affect students' performance in an exams. And me especially, I believe that if the student sits an exam and the student is not able to make it, it doesn't mean that the student doesn't have any knowledge in any area. And that is the basis of my training. It means that maybe the student didn't prepare well. It means that maybe the questions were above the student's ability. It could be that during that period of the exams, the student got himself or herself into a situation that made him or her psychologically or emotionally unable to remember whatever he or she has learned. So exams, as it stands now, cannot always be used to measure the capabilities and abilities of students. And that is that position that I take. The point is that we have a body that is supposed to license teachers. And that is why I keep saying that we should understand the process. The whole thing is a licensure regime. We have a body that is supposed to license teachers. In the law establishing that particular body, they say that the first step into your licensure process is to sit and write the exam. What you do as a student or somebody who wants to enter the profession is to prepare adequately and sit and pass the exam so that you can move to the other processes, or you can go to the other processes leading to you finally being permanently licensed.
All right.
If you sit for that exam and you're not able to do it due to the numerous reasons why you couldn't pass, you go and prepare and come back and write. It doesn't mean that the process set is faulty or it is not relevant. It doesn't also mean that you, as the individual who sat for the exams, you are not capable. It means that you might not be ready at that time, and therefore you cannot enter the classroom, go and prepare and come back. And I have an article on this whole thing that if you want to read, you can check the Economics of Teacher Licensure Regime in Ghana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Anti. I'll go for final words from Mr. David Ofori-Champong. Mr. Ofori-Champong, what are your final words? Please speak up. We can't hear anything. Is Madam Rose Blankson on the line with us still?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
Please, what are your final words? We're wrapping up.
Okay, so my final words are that I want to first correct some erroneous impressions created. I made assessments of my time, the diploma stage, and the degree stage of college education. I used myself as a Set A certified teacher, mentioned that there was diploma at some point in time, and then now we have degree. And things have evolved. But the fact that we have evolved does not mean that the training of teachers in the various institutions have changed. They have also evolved and improved. And I feel that, yes, we do not need the license to qualify a teacher who has so trained to be a teacher to go into the classroom. I see it as a way of delaying employing teachers. Those days, the best place for a not too well-to-do person who is academically inclined, who has the passion and the love to teach and impart knowledge, is to go to a training college. Now you even go to a training college, and with this licensure, someone will go through training, education, teacher training, and at the end of the day, the guaranteed job is not there. Like it started happening to nurses. I see it as a trick. That is how I see it. It's a tricky way to get teachers waiting after training college so we can buy time not to employ them, not to engage them with the excuse that they've written licensure, they didn't pass, and therefore they don't have the license to practice. Yes, they go to the UK. They are saying now when you go to the UK, you don't write the exam. I'm yet to confirm that, but I wouldn't doubt them since they are so sure of what they are saying. But why would we want to train our teachers and not be able to retain them here, but export them? Now we are exporting our doctors, we are exporting our nurses, we are exporting every human resource.
All right, Madam Rose Blankson.
That is the target for this whole licensure.
Right. Thank you so much for those final thoughts. But that's how we're wrapping up for the conversation, whether or not this licensure exam should be cancelled, if we should just review it, only let those who've not gone through teacher education sit for the exams. I mean, the way forward is is the way forward. But those who joined us for this conversation, let me acknowledge Madam Rose Blankson, who is Assistant Registrar at the University of Cape Coast. We had on phone Mr. David Ofori-Champong, the former General Secretary of NAT. We're also joined by Dr. Peter Antipati. He is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. And finally, Mr. Larry K. Agbado, the editor at Teacher Education Journal. Thank you. Those were our guests for this conversation. Benjamin.
Well, right before we go, let's take our photo of the day. Ready? Okay, so that's an interesting one. It says what? To teach is to touch a life. Don't listen to them there. But to teach is to touch a life. That's what we're focusing on. Today, you could call it our Trotro diary for the day. To teach is to touch a life, especially as we've been talking about teaching and licensing and everything in between. To teach us to touch a life.
It's about it. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to who?
Maybe the naysayers. Yeah, but to teach us to touch a life. And it's true.
We should ensure that those teaching are doing it right.
Yep.
But that's just my thoughts.
Well, let's take some messages now.
Right. So attention, all HD Plus subscribers. Starting 13th of June 2024, SES Plus Ghana will provide HD channels to free-to-air TV homes at no cost. This means that all users of the multi-TV platform will have access to HD channels without paying HD Plus subscriptions. And here are some 4 points to note. 1, as of 16th April 2024, no new HD Plus subscription purchases or activations will be available. Existing HD Plus decoders will receive free-to-air channels until 13th of June 2024. 2, subscribers with active subscriptions beyond 13 June 2024 will be compensated. Such customers will be contacted by the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from 30th of April. Now, such subscribers are encouraged to call the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from 1st of June. That is beginning this month. And 3, from 30th of May 2024, update your HD Plus decoder to access the new free-to-air HD channels. Support will be available until the 20th of June 2024. So kindly look out for the over-the-air software and upgrade your decoder upon the release of the software. Finally, users of compatible Samsung QLED and UHD integrated TV sets should note that the My HD Plus TV app and My HD Plus mobile app will not be available from the 30th of May 2024. Another one of our important messages to you this morning is inviting you to escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Japa, Dubai. You've seen the rest, it's now time to see the best. Take a break from work and take a break from the south. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Japa, Dubai is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the south. Now, here's what awaits you. 1 unforgettable safari experience, amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamus, ostriches, among many others, using the spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or quad bikes. 2, water sports, such as jet skiing, boat canoe rides, etc. 3, various family games to keep you and your family excited every day. And 4, great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, etc. So escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, the Japa, Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. And you can call them on 050-169-4280 or 024-88-444-63 for reservations and further inquiries.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's session. It's been great having you join the conversation. Tomorrow we'll try and see whether we can activate the phone lines to hear from you. But from us to you, we love you. Have a wonderful day.